First and foremost, now I regret titling the story in German with a quote from Goethe's Faust because now I've realized, oh man, I'm sorry that you're gonna have to pronounce that, and also I realized, oh no, now my ramifications of titling my stories in foreign languages is coming back to bite me in the ass because I think I think with the exception of Stag, most of us here don't really speak German, so my bad.
That's
I mean,
okay. Stag made us read a bunch of words in like a made up fantasy language, so you're good.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
my
kidding.
Romulan.
Stag didn't make Stag
like
didn't
one of
make
these-
us read anything. We did it willingly.
To
One
be
of
fair,
these
any
days-
times I think I read sorry, but every time I listen to that and I think of that, all I can think is I'm so sorry. Anyways, go
and
ahead.
we read Dracula, which has a bunch of foreign words in
And I
it
had
too.
issues with that one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the, I was gonna say I suggest maybe we could read Moby Dick out loud in the voice chat, but then I realized, oh god, that would take forever. The book's like 600 pages.
We wouldn't be doing that all in one stream.
I know, but also I guess even across multiple streams it would take a long time.
How long
Fair,
is Dracula?
Let me pull it
He'll
up.
just always have something to read. No worries.
Yeah.
It's our Forever
That's-
series. This is our Grey's Anatomy.
Let's see.
We'll always have Moby Dick.
I don't know
Or
why
we
that
could
made me
read a
laugh.
Stephen King novel.
Ooh, which one?
The Shining.
Well,
Like I
Ow.
actually physically own The
Like
Shining.
Eukaryota or Pet Cemetery.
oh yeah, we
so-
could.
Hi Max, thanks for checking in.
I
Going
thought
to
so.
I tried- I
evening
tried
rice
reading
and foods.
I tried reading it years ago, but the book is so thick. I'm like, nah, I can't do this.
And Carrie, if you're
And,
It's a
and
good-
a nice drinky as
It's
well.
a good book. The chapters are just long.
He wishes he could get you a giant Diet Coke.
again, I would. If we had to pick a Stephen King novel to read aloud in the voice chat, I would recommend Carrie since it's actually pretty short, especially compared to his later works, and I really liked it because it kind of cuts between like traditional narrative storytelling and then kind of just like interviews and excerpts from biographies surrounding the whole situation. And I really like when I really like when stories decide to tell when stories are formatted that way. Though I feel like
Yeah.
it works really well if the books is fast paced. That's actually how Eric LaRocca's Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke is formatted. It's through a series of like records following the it's not a spoiler if the main character dies because it's clear that it's like these are the records we've recovered from upon discovering the main characters die. And they say that at the beginning so you know one of them ends up dead. And the whole okay, I guess we're doing this. Sorry, I don't know how to shut up.
That's okay. Hey, we yap all the time on here. Welcome to the
Oh,
club.
yeah. All right, are we already live?
Yeah, we have been for the past 3 minutes.
Awesome. Well,
It's just that I
am
didn't want to interrupt.
almost-
you.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh. Okay. No, you go ahead, actually.
Okay,
That's your
so
stream.
basically, I didn't want to interrupt Lucia, so I was just like, yeah, I'll just like keep it going because I am less of the lead, more of the cameraman, as I say in all the time, and so Elevate is usually the one who's organizing all of this, so I'll take it off to her to introduce herself first.
All right. My name is Elevate. I do some of the readings here, and I'm here to have a great time tonight. We're going to be starting off with Eukaryota by Corriane, and I believe somebody else may be reading this one aloud. Any volunteers from the crowd?
I want to try reading aloud if possible. Sorry if my mic is
Mm,
wonky because I'm using my computer mic since
No,
yes.
that's okay.
And would you like to introduce yourself, new reader?
Hello, my name is Lucia. I am known in the Salisbury. I am known in our friend group as the Ludwig X Lawrence hype woman / cheerleader. That's just kind of my thing. It's been my thing for about 5 years now. But I like baking. I like reading specifically classic literature and also just deeply weird, beautifully written horror novels. I also like knitting, and I actually did work in a radio show, so I have some experience reading things aloud.
Awesome.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh,
I read
nice.
I read aloud a script about D.B. Cooper, and it right around Thanksgiving, or right before Thanksgiving break in my sophomore year of college. Because what better way than to celebrate Thanksgiving by recounting an extremely bizarre plane hijacking that happened in the early 70s?
Ooh.
That sounds interesting, honestly. And you do have like a really nice voice, I'll have to say. So I feel like you're really fitting for radio shows and stuff like that.
Thank you. I also have the ability to jump scare people by doing an anime girl voice completely at random, like the way I'm doing right now.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, when I first heard you do like the ooh or something, like I was like, wow.
But did somebody just play a clip from an anime? Oh no, that's Lucia.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the
All right, do you have the link
10
to
stream.
the one we're reading first?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Are we taking turns or?
Yeah, this one isn't so long, so it's probably
Yeah, it's a
go
short
for it kind of
story.
thing. Yeah.
So basically, if at any point, for any reason, you do feel like switching off, you can either say so, or my personal favorite is you play the quack.
Right.
and then someone will volunteer, or you could ask someone to take over for you. All right, let's. I'm on the page. I'm game to start whenever. And whoever would like to do it.
I'll start
Mhm.
first.
Yippee!
Eukaryota by Corriane. He was dragged back into consciousness with a pained groan as a blinding light shone on his face. A familiar voice rang in his ears. He tried opening his eyes to find the source of the voice, but quickly closed them, the beaming light stinging like daggers. Instinctively, he put a hand up to shield himself from it. Ah, fuck. Am I dead already? The flashlight turned off with a faint click. Trevor! Jesus Christ, I was worried about you! Flashlight dropped to the ground with a clanking sound that reverberated throughout the room as the young woman embraced him. He hugged her back, but it didn't feel very comforting. He was certain he knew this person, but he couldn't even put a name to the voice. Come to think of it, he could barely remember anything that had happened in the past few weeks. The last thing he recalled was turning on the TV to see a newscaster reading a headline in a concerned voice. Everything after that was a swirl of confusion, like scattered pieces from different puzzles. Trevor's eyes darted around the room frantically. Everything was dark, faintly illuminated by the moonlight coming through a tall window. He could barely make out the details of the woman crouching in front of him. Her auburn hair looked like it hadn't been brushed in a while, and her clothes were torn and covered in dark stains in some places. Her tired eyes were wide, scanning him as if looking for a sign of reassurance. But he had nothing to give her. Fuck. Where was he and why was he here? What was he doing before he passed out? Trevor frantically dug through his memories, trying to piece together anything he could. A fragment, a shard of the past, finally surfaced. He was running through a dark building, running away from something. Something chased him and his friend, the girl he was with now. He was desperately trying to reach a doorway, an exit beaming with sunlight. The last thing he recalled was him shouting something. A name. Alexis. Yes, Trevor? Her eyes darted to meet his gaze. Sorry. I almost forgot your name for a second. She let out a nervous laugh. Jeez, you must have hit your head pretty hard, huh? Yeah, I guess. Alexis had been one of his best friends for a while. How could he forget? He must have hit something and blacked out. That would explain why his head was throbbing so badly. And the sudden memory loss he was experiencing. Hopefully it was just a mild concussion. The possibility of permanent brain damage was not something he wanted to think about. How long was I out for? A while. Since yesterday, I think. I had to run back to get your unconscious body. You're lucky I was able to drag your ass back to the safe house in time. In time for what? Trevor wanted to ask. But she already seemed on edge. It was probably better not to pester her with more questions. He winced as the headache's intensity doubled. Alexis grabbed his arm when he tried to stand up. Just rest for now, okay? You've been through a lot. I don't need rest, I need answers. He quietly complied anyway, closing his eyes and trying to dig through the fog for anything of value. It proved to be a pointless task, however, leaving him hanging his head in defeat. Where are we again? Sorry, my brain is a bit foggy. We're at the safe house, same one we've been holed up in for the past 2 weeks. I know it's hard to see. I'll get the lights. Moments later, incandescent light bulbs flickered on with a low hum and an intensity that felt like a flashbang. Trevor let out a loud groan as he gripped his head in agony, but it only seemed to slightly lessen the pain drilling into his skull and in his entire body. The taste of metallic blood filled his mouth. He had dealt with his fair share of migraines before, but this felt much different. Ugh! Too bright. Alexis quickly turned off the lights. Sorry, I didn't think you'd be so light-sensitive. Here, have some water. She held up a flask, but Trevor turned the offer down. No, I'm not thirsty. He shakily stood up and started walking toward the window. He needed to think. He needed answers. It felt like more of his memories were being erased by the second. First, mundane scenes from his life, then more important ones, slipping away like grains of sand into an abyssal ocean. Alexis grabbed his arm. Trevor, I'm worried about you. You're not usually like this. I'm fine, he mumbled. It's just a headache. That can't be the only thing. You're acting weird. Please just be honest with me. What's going on? Trevor ignored her, continuing to limp over to the window. Dizzy with nausea, he leaned against the window for support and almost felt vertigo. The glass pane that stretched from floor to ceiling revealed that they were actually in a very tall building, far from the ground. Outside, an entire cityscape shone in the moonlight, but it felt desolate. Wrong, even. None of the buildings were lit up as usual, save for a few flickering windows. What happened here? The nausea was getting worse. It took everything within him not to vomit. A lot of the power got cut off, remember? It's been like that for 2 weeks. It was probably an attack from them. No, he did not remember. More and more of his memories were rapidly slipping away, only to be replaced with new ones. Darkness, the calming dampness of the earth, primal desire to feed. Who's them? He started coughing up viscous, dark blood. You don't remember? I thought you knew. Alexis started backing away. His muscles involuntarily twitched. Just tell me! Blood sprayed from his mouth as he screamed. His vision was becoming more tunneled with every passing breath, yet other senses seemed to be sharpening. He could smell her fear. Oh, God. Please don't tell me you're becoming one of them. Please, God, not you too. What am I becoming? What's going on? He took a step closer to her. Memory loss is the first stage in the transformation. Tears were forming in her eyes. Before he could ask any more questions, Trevor doubled over in agony, every bone and muscle in his body throbbing. The pain persisted as more blood trickled from his mouth, but a sense of apathy started to settle into him. Any fear, guilt, or sadness seemed to wash away, replaced by a sense of peace and eternal need to consume, to hunt. She reached for something behind her. "I'm sorry, Trevor," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "But I have to do this." Trembling, she held up a shotgun and took aim. A loud bang filled the room as buckshot sprayed all over his chest. But the lead pellets could only graze his heart and skin, stunning him for a moment, but failing to leave a serious mark. If anything, that momentarily distracted him from the strange agony of his body mutilating itself. His bones were shattering, splitting apart, forming new limbs. His spine was elongating and growing at the base. Teeth felt sharper. His tongue long and sensitive like a serpentine proboscis. "Alexis." It was the last thing he could choke out before his vocal cords snapped. The woman reached for something else. A metal baseball bat. Through the pain-riddled confusion, he watched her swing it at his head to very little effect. Hissing, he slapped her away, causing the girl to tumble across the concrete floor. She tried again. This time he grabbed her slender neck and pinned her to the ground in a chokehold. Weak fingers desperately clawed at him as she gasped for air. "Trevor!" She gasped out the name through strained breaths. "If you're still in here, please stop." Trevor? He did not remember that name. Or hers, for that matter. Not that he cared. As he opened his mouth to bite, something sharp stabbed his limb. The scream that echoed through the room was shrill and inhuman, unrecognizable even to him. It seemed she had another weapon on her, twisting it into a tender part of his arm. He recoiled in shock, giving the girl barely enough leverage to slip from his grasp. Murky blood smelling of copper and acid oozed out of the fresh wound. By the time he recovered from the brief shock, the girl was already slipping away. No matter, he could catch her. But suddenly he paused, a new ability flooding his senses. A voice was reaching out to him, instinctively familiar, yet clearly from another. It wanted him to join them, his true kin. The creature, whatever he was now, crept away in its new form. Hunting would have to come later. It was time to find the pack.
Holy moly.
That was
Nice.
tense.
That was
Ooh.
But you
awesome.
did such a good job reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
I'm glad you liked it.
Mhm.
Mhm. Like the way that you did the emotions for the characters too was amazing.
Is
Really fun.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you
The
so much.
laughs.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Really well written too, Corey.
Yes.
Thanks.
Mhm.
By the way, I forgot to mention, I wrote this for like a contest, a writing contest in another server.
Oh wow.
So,
Oh.
That's
I'd like to write more short stories in the future
That's really good.
Yeah.
if I get more inspiration
Yeah,
for
you
it.
should.
Mhm.
Hopefully. I have another story that I want to write, so hopefully I'll get like the inspiration to actually write it.
Yeah.
Speaking of inspiration, I have to say this reading all of these and like learning about everyone's writing styles and stuff like that, it's inspired me to like really try and continue to do creative work myself, and I hope like it helps everyone sort of experience their own like inspiration and help them continue like and appreciate like just writing in general and reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Corey,
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the viewers
So-
here. Oh, go ahead.
What were you saying?
One of the viewers here says they hope they're here when you write that next story and we
Mhm.
Oh,
Miles
they
said
hope
that.
I'm here.
No, they hope they're here to hear us.
Oh, yay!
For when you write your next
Wait.
story and we read it.
Yeah.
Cool. What did you guys think?
It was
Oh,
really
it was
fun.
great, scary,
Great.
spooky.
Yeah.
A very special kind of like very body horror or forced transformation specifically get really under my skin, which is why I've refused to touch an American Werewolf in London for years. So,
Oh yeah.
Good job with that.
Oh yeah, I like body horror. I think it's interesting. I like reading stuff by Junji Ito.
Oh yeah, me too. The one
Yeah,
that
Junji
the
Ito
one that
mentioned.
was tried.
Yeah.
The one with the acne.
Yeah.
I had
The one with the like
viciously-
big pus coming
Yeah,
out of
Oh,
the guy's
God.
face.
I had
That
to
one was just
aggressively-
gross.
I had to aggressively wash my face after that, and the one that freaked me out from Uzumaki was the snail one.
Yeah, guy turns into a snail.
I know
Yeah.
realistically that's never going to happen to me as
I
far as I
know.
know. But now I have a fear of being turned into a snail, just like I have a fear of being turned into a walrus.
Eh?
Like surgically transformed into a walrus. There's a
Oh.
movie about that.
I don't think that's possible.
I know it's not possible, but
Fine.
this is what happens. Sometimes horror movies just leave you with irrational fears.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you find, Cozy?
I like that
Stories? Stories?
it's spooky, but like it's in the realm of fantasy enough
Oh,
for me
Junji
to not
Ito.
get too scared of it. And
Junji.
the art can be really disturbing, but like also really, really detailed and like beautiful in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like
'cause-
hard to explain.
Okay.
The one that was a mistake for me to read, although it wasn't really body horror focused, was Cujo, because that would upset me so badly as someone who owned a dog at the time that I had to just run out into the living room and cry and hug my own dog.
Yeah, I haven't
Mhm.
read that one.
All right. I've got the next fic pulled up.
All right.
Yippee! Let me go ahead and
Dang.
find that.
Should we wait for Owl to ask for like boundaries and stuff, or I think we should do that now. So something that's come up that I realized should probably be important is what are our boundaries when it comes to reading our fics and referencing our fics? Because I do not want my darker fics to be interpreted as kinky. Like, I can understand when some people are more inclined for that, like they're used to that and stuff, but I ask that my dark fics do not be interpreted as kinky.
Yeah, understandable. And
In my sorry.
oh, go ahead. I wasn't gonna say anything.
My boundaries are basically just I don't want I would prefer for like reading my own fics, please just don't read anything that's like explicit rated out loud in a voice chat. Anything that's like M-rated stuff is probably fine for the most part because that's like the sometimes covers heavy topics but not really in super explicit detail.
Yeah, well, we probably weren't planning on doing any NSFW
Yeah, but
stuff.
I feel like for the most part, it's like I feel like mostly I'm mostly fine with you reading like my gen fix or like anything that's like rated like through G to a very light R. Like R, like I mean like a cut to the curtains and the breeze.
Yeah,
And
we already read
breeze.
one fic like that.
Yeah.
And
It's a very tasteful fade to black cutscene.
I feel
think
like,
that
and I
was
feel like
mine.
also the other thing is it's just like, oh god, like, please don't read any of this stuff I wrote like 2020, circa 2020, because most of it was just not good.
That's fine.
Yeah, we usually do the ones that are requested anyway. So if it's not
Yeah.
requested, then it won't
I mean,
Mhm.
appear.
Don't really.
Okay, so
I feel like I don't really have any boundaries with like reading aloud my fic because there's more issues I've had with regards to certain aspects of comments that have been left on my art. Not negative comments, but ones that just felt like kind of got under my skin in a way that I'm pretty sure wasn't intentional. But that was more specific to the art, and in the case of most of my fics, it's usually I'm pretty explicit about my intentions. Although if I ever write anything that's related to Emma, my Ashen one, like I don't want her to. I don't. Honestly, I can't control if you would be interested in the dynamic of pairing her up with any of the other characters. My Ashen one, Emma, the one who's just kind of awful but unintentionally so. But do know that wasn't my intention. Like, just you don't have to necessarily adhere to authorial intent, but just do keep that in mind.
I can definitely agree with not reading anything that's not reading anything that's not on my AO3, and 2, there is only one supernatural fic that I allow anyone to touch, and if we want to read that one again, that's fine too, because that was on episode 1, which got privated. But for the most part, I want fic readings to be kept to my Bloodborne and Star Trek stuff.
Okay.
And no silly readings after the one Stitch episode.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, no. Thank you
Like,
for
it was
letting us do that.
It was hilarious, but yeah. If I ever make a very cracky joke fic, then by all means do that one. But when it's more or less more serious in tone like that one was, well, it's like not like dead serious, but it had a more serious tone to it. So you get what I mean.
Yeah.
yeah,
Title
absolutely.
is. Looking at this, like, title is in German, I should read it.
You
Oh,
can definitely read my fics in a jokey way, though. Maybe that's the only way I can handle hearing them out loud.
you mean the new fic you
Oh.
brought out?
Maybe.
I did want to say a few of us didn't introduce ourselves, so I believe that would leave Corey, Stag, and Honey.
Oops.
It's okay.
What's your house?
Because I'd like to put y'all on the spot before we continue.
Yep,
To
that's
draw
what
more
happens.
icons for this chat. You all have really cute icons.
Icons.
Cute.
What are icons?
That's made mine.
They're like little sprites representing your
Oh,
Icons.
icons. Okay.
icons. I mispronounced that.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It was adorable.
I mispronounce things all the time.
It just reminded me of lichens.
I have a bear
Oh,
girl
yeah.
mascot. Like a girl with barriers who's my mascot, and her nickname is Ursula Major, like the constellation.
Oh my gosh.
She has a
I almost thought you were going to say
fondness-
Ursula Le Guin, and I was like,
You
Well,
do
Ursula
have blue
Major,
hair.
like, related to the constellation. She has a
If you'd
fondness
like, you could
for
change it
John Steinbeck books, meatball sandwiches,
in the panel
and-
below this video.
and Edward Hopper paintings.
I love that.
I can get behind that.
Fancy.
Alright, from my screen, from left to right, it's Corey, Stag, and Honey. So I asked that, I guess, Honey, Corey, if you'd like to begin with telling us who you are.
Hi. I'm an artist. I like to draw. I also like to write fic sometimes. But they're all very spicy, so I can't read any of those.
No.
You sure?
And I
Enjoy
don't
them on
really
your
want
own
to.
time.
That would make me too flustered.
Oh,
And yeah. Does this have like a lot of German in it?
No, it's just the
Because I
title,
can't
I
pronounce
promise.
that title.
I'm sorry, it's just the title, I promise. I was like, oh, I will be pretentious today because I'm pretentious when I write all of my stories. And then I
Boing.
realized, and now only when I realized that I selected that to be read out loud, I realized, oh, that kind of backfired.
Me
It's
with
like,
my Romulan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you people and your pretentious titles.
But see, the
That-
thing is, at least
mean-
it's like with Stag's pretentious titles, it's like you made it. It's like it's for a fictional language, and honestly, that's kind of admirable because you have to put in effort and like. But mine, I'm like, oh, cool title, haha, title that's a line from one of my favorite plays of all time. Here we go. That and it honestly doesn't have that much to do with the actual story.
Mhm. Well, I did title my other fic Eukaryota, and that can be hard for people to pronounce.
Yeah, I'm glad someone else pronounced it and not me.
Yeah.
I think the translation for this title though is "A Lover Lies at Your Feet" in English.
Oh.
So
Oh,
despite the kind of suggestive title, this story is actually like very squeaky clean, except for like one mild suggestive joke that pushes this to a PG.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Are we carrying on with introductions, or shall I start reading?
Yeah, tell us who you are, Stag.
Hello, I am Stag. I go by its pronouns. I do art and writing and stuff. My little avatar here is Delphin, who is an extragalactic alien called a Creepney. And they represent me a lot.
Yay.
That's all I really know to say right now.
Short and
Nice.
sweet. And I believe last, you didn't get an introduction, did you? I feel like you did.
You did,
right?
actually,
Okay.
yeah. It was you and me. We introduced ourselves, then Lucia, and then we started reading, and then, oh, wait. Corey, who are you?
Okay, Night Honeybee, you.
And Honey.
Yeah, I am last. So I'm Honey. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been on these streams a couple times now, and yeah, I like to write myself a lot and trying to get better at drawing, but it's really fun reading these, and yeah, that's all
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Any particular couple you're thinking of lately?
Oh, you bet. My what did I call them? I can't remember. But my two little guys from Metaphori Fantasio, Stroll and Will, or shortened to Stroll Will or Will Stroll for the I love them so much.
I'm drawing art for that right now.
Yeah!
Nice.
Go! I can't wait for it.
Awesome.
It's
They consume
coming
my
along
thoughts.
slowly because I also
I'm
need
so
to
excited.
finish. I also need to finish Lux's art.
Ooh, so many
Ooh,
things.
I
So
heard of
many
this a lot.
things.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I forgot to mention my pronouns. She, her. Also, I really like Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
Also, the play Faust. Yeah, that old German play. That's been my hyperfixation for 6 years and counting now. Oh, and also I've really been getting into Star Trek. I really love Bones McCoy. He's my
Yeah.
Blorbo now.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
he bones. Very cool.
That's so awesome. I guess my pronouns are whatever you want. So, care.
Yeah, I guess my pronouns are whatever either, but it would be kind of weird if you used he,
Me?
Understandable.
He?
like he, him.
Yeah.
Good. Right? You didn't leave me, right? Anyways.
I mean, if that's what you want. If that's what you want.
Okay then, who shall do this one?
I'd like to.
Perfect. All right, I got the camera on the fic. Whenever you're good to go.
Ein lieb in der liegt der zu Füßen. dreadful beauties, aka our Lucia,
Hey.
in which certain misunderstandings are had regarding the matters of flowers. Naturally, Ludwig asked a young apprentice who is more familiar with these matters for advice. Ludwig the Holy Blade is a man who draws eyes to him, whispers, gloved hands clasped over the great sword he draws in combat to protect his shining church. Someone who is infallible. A Pegasus ascended from the remains of some serpentine beast. But Ludwig had his eyes for only one lone soul, and one alone. Which is why he finds himself near one rare patch of sunlit soil, and the vegetables and water-colored palettes worth of flowers white gold in the afternoon. The young lady wipes at her dirt-smeared face and spectacles, dark blue eyes gleaming with curiosity as to his plight. Rosario stammers. I'm flattered you're asking me for advice, Sir Ludwig. But whatever's the matter, let us turn our attentions to some weeks ago. Vicar Lawrence had requested he stop by his office that time, not for some tyrus or for discussions on how to manage that recent flowing of blood he deemed necessary. No, it had been to greet him on some lavender eve, with a bouquet of flowers clenched in his silken gloved hands. Night I'm so sorry. Ludwig recognizes, tucking stray dark hair away and staring at the moonlit flower, an agrimony. He accepted the bouquet and bent down to kiss Lawrence's hand, a show of respect, their secret code for affection. Thank you, Vicar Lawrence. Lawrence smiled, as though blooming with satisfaction over some secret he did not want to tell. Why are you so stony in telling me the nature of your and Vicar Lawrence's liaisons? It makes perfect sense. Ludwig raises an eyebrow, no dignity, not as he helps frail blonde Rosario tend to her verdant patch of Florida. Pardon? Forgive me, but I surely thought everyone knew you were in love. He never did understand the intricacies of what every soft, blushing petal meant. Not that it was part of his education. Yet when Ludwig let a single pink rose in his wake, he caught Lawrence through the crack in his office door, inhaling its delicate scent. Bronze lashes on his closed lids, casting shadows like lace just above his cheeks, fingers rotating the stem to observe it at every angle. When he at last set the rose down, his brown eyes shone in tandem with a smile. A pink rose. Well, I don't see the trouble there. Rosario pats the dirt into the ground with calloused palms, bespectacled gaze brightening when she sees the scatterings of floral color in the wake of the water and sunlight they had been kissed with. Ludwig, for once, stands by as her loyal servant to yank weeds out whose leaves sprawled over stool to block out sun. Her student, too, when he gives her a quiet look to prompt her to speak further. A single rose is a token of new love and admiration, she declares, which does still shock me, because I truly was under the impression that you had been courting Vicar Lawrence for far longer. I see. Is there any meaning in the color pink? There is, indeed. It signifies respect far more gently than its more passionate red cousin. Since you mentioned Since you mentioned how serene Vicar Lawrence's manner was, he certainly must have appreciated the compliment. You are his most loyal hunter, a gallant knight who admires him for the path he has taken in order to provide Yarnum solace and help during the darkest times. And if you have only recently begun to formally see one another, how could he not take that as a compliment? As he pats over Sunwarm Soul, Ludwig wonders just how many romance novels Rosaria reads. Her tone is a little too full of verve as she gushes over the lord and knight bond that he and Lawrence shared. And he has glimpsed more of the tangled dark roots and weeds growing underfoot of their shared Burnham that he is certain not everyone else is privy to. But he cannot help but nod at her earnestness and how she listens to him speak of his beloved. As I mentioned, he seemed quite content when I passed by his office and saw him examining the rose, Ludwig says. Then you must have done something right. He appreciated the message in all its simplicity. So far, your courting has been going quite smoothly. But you sought me out for assistance and advice, in which case, what is it that troubles you? I spent years studying the blade and how to hunt, yet I find myself confounded by flowers of all possible troubles. The most recent bouquet had bold purple ipomia, ipomia and soft sprouts of pink mezeron. He noticed it laid upon his desk as shadows seeped in, tinged rosy by twilight's cool fingers. Lawrence would never leave notes that displayed his affections alongside the blooms he must have snipped fresh from the gardens, or at least picked up from that flower shop down the street. Whatever it is, Ludwig cast his blue eyes upon it and took the bouquet, even though the caress of leather gloves even through the caress of leather gloves he could still tell how soft those curved petals were. It could not hurt to repay the gesture with something more extravagant. He had only been persisting Lawrence with single flowers. That was why, come next morning, he made his way through the hallways to present his vicar with a bouquet of his own. He had gotten one of the choir members to help him pluck flowers from the garden for it, watching them peel their gloves away to touch at loamy, sweet-smelling soul. Lawrence accepted the bouquet, surveying everything, from the faint tendrils of soft lavender to the tiny blushings of London pride and middle saffron, all swathed in rich, buttery orange and yellow of frilly marigolds. And the marigolds he picked because they reminded him of that head of soft hair he so loved to run his fingers through, lit shimmering gold under sunlight, like illuminated maple leaf, like warmed copper. Lawrence squinted down at the flowers, then up at Ludwig, then back at the flowers, down at the flowers once more. Thank you? Of all expressions he expected to see from his beloved upon receiving a bouquet of flowers, bafflement was not among them. I think I see the trouble, Rosario steps aside from her patch of garden, wiping her hands upon the navy of her skirt. You aren't all that well acquainted with florography and withal, are you? No. Because well, how harsh would you like me to put this in presumption? Blunt, I know nothing about florography. Just about every single flower in that bouquet is the last sort of flower you would want to present someone trying to egg you on to propose to them. What? The Aponia, says Rosaria, is a declaration of attachment, while the Mezeron is concrete. In other words, Vicar Lawrence is saying, I am quite fond of you. Perhaps you could present us with rings to match till death do us part. A little afraid of exactly what he had communicated in the last bouquet, Ludwig urges, go on. Well, marigold stands for grief, lavender for distrust, London pride stands for vivority, and meadow saffron for my best days are past. In other words, you just told Vicar Lawrence, I grieve for our broken trust, for you are a frivolous mess of a man, and my capability is in more sensual matters is lacking. Perhaps you could have been slightly less blunt about that last part. You did ask me to be as blunt as I could, Sir Ludwig. He wishes in this moment he were nothing more than a mere spoil to be buried underneath the soil, only seen again when it blooms into a proper plant. All of those jesters of romance, those single blooms he had left as spoils of the garden in Lawrence's office. Well, that had all been simple good luck. Only the grandfather clock in the study acts as an indicator of the hour. The shadows cast upon the ornately printed office walls are warped in signaling nighttime. Ludwig hunched over his desk, skimming through the frayed yellow pages of the book Rosario gave him, scanning over the ornate printed illustrations, bleeding dark ink. There is always the more straightforward approach of simple apologies through spoken word. But while Ludwig does not speak this language lifted up gently from the roots, Lawrence does, and as such he is determined to learn it. Truth be told, he had been hoping for a moment like this for a while. Not for any extravagance or fanfare. Ludwig has never been the type for that. But deep in a little blue velvet box, a thin gold band with a small pearl embedded against its surface sits swathed in a cushioning of black silk. It is a pearl he found at Yarnum's shore when he cracked open an oyster one evening. Not even the slightest bit eroded by salt water nor sand, a perfect bloom from the watery depths beyond the fragile sanctum of their town. He had been saving it for the fairest flower of all. In his searches, he skims over the poem alongside it, from a Miss M.E. Hewitt. She dwells amidst the world's dark ways, pure as in childhood's hours. All her thoughts are poetry, all her words are flowers. An ode to the garden daisy. This flower shall do. He finds Lawrence not long. He finds Lawrence not in the confines of his ornate office, but in hushed conversations with members of the choir in the narrow corridor of the cathedral ward, drenched in lamplight, those humming birds and phantasmagorical white drawn to a new pollen. He is coy with them, squinting at every question, contemplative under the shroud of that milky pale veil draped over him. They have played these little games for some time, Ludwig knows. Their eyes meet. Lawrence catches a glimpse of floor brightness tucked beneath dark leather gloves and excuses himself with, Pardon, I have some private business to attend with Sir Ludwig that has come up quite suddenly. Please forgive my sudden departure. It's quite urgent. It is in the closest modicum of privacy that they have in a dark corner that Lawrence lays a hand upon Ludwig's chest. He looks up with uncertainty, worry furrowing his red brow. Have you been faring well in these hazy times? He asked. I am well aware that you are a man who would rather keep your most raw, vulnerable sentiments to yourself to confront, but, oh, Vicar Lawrence, I think it's only a misunderstanding. He reaches down to tuck away a lock of of stray red hair, marveling at the glimmer of the crescent moon earring Lawrence wears. This is once again his area of expertise when he extracts the bouquet he had been carrying around. I am not infallible. I was wrong to take your message of affection at face value in all their beauty, and not learn, or even admit, the coded words with which you were trying to communicate to me with. It was only through one of my own apprentices that I learned what best to do. Ludwig draws forth the bouquet he had spent last night marking down the fine details of. Soft sprigs of delicate mistletoe speckled with pale berries, myrtle crowned with fuzz, not unlike the frothy veil of a newlywed bride. Pale daisy petals framing the crown of disc florets at their center. Dark sprigs of hazel poised for resolution, almost all of it in lacy Marshall white, the milky glimmer of that moon Ludwig turns to when his nights are full of solitude, the pearl embedded atop the ring he had brought with him tonight. Perhaps in substitution of ceremony, you could accept this. Lawrence scans the bouquet, and then a rare smile dances onto his face. The sort Ludwig wakes up to in private when they lie beneath silken sheets in the cold hours of the early morning, with all its crinkles and dimples that others are not privy to. And his smile grows even wider when Ludwig moves away from his face to take his hand and slip that ring upon his gloved finger. I am truly sorry, he answers. I ought to have asked first. I wasn't aware that the realm of florography is more niche than I thought. Your worries are for naught, Vicar Lawrence. I have studied the error of my ways and realized what more I ought to do. Perhaps you can accept this as an apology, as well as a question I now understand you had been hoping I would ask you for a long, long while. He is stunning in the robes he wears as part of his duty, the very image of a starry night in these corridors. But that smile in pearl shines brightest of all when he examines the ring upon his fingers and looks back up again. There is no triumphant kiss, nor any other grand expressions, only I do. Ooh,
Eh.
I like that.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely lovely.
Mhm.
You have a really nice, calming voice.
Thank
Mhm.
you. It always
Yeah,
makes
good
me happy
job.
when people say that. 'Cause
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. And it was
Okay.
beautifully written too.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I'm so jealous of your writing
You,
style.
wait till I write the wedding sequel fan fiction, which is
Ooh.
like it's and that one is less lighthearted. It's more like treading the balance between they're very sweet and in love, but also doing kind of awful shit, which Ludwig's not really actively contributing to, but is still complicit in it.
Oh, you're going
Yep.
into those territories,
Yeah.
huh?
That's cool too.
Very fun. Okay. The next one is also written by you, Lucia, if you'd like us to read that, or we can go to one of our chaptered fics.
If you really, I mean, you had to put back the first episode, so feel free to read this one if you want to. Then again, feel free to take turns. I know it's a Whopper burger of a fic compared to this one.
Whopper
Whopper
burger.
burger.
Think of a better adjective, okay?
Oh. Wait, maybe it was the same thing. Never mind. I think it was, you said the same thing?
Oh yeah, whoops, sorry about that.
Okay, never mind then. Then you know
Sorry,
what,
Sid,
guys?
could you
It's time. It's time for the myth, the man, the legend, the vampire himself. We are on
Dio?
chapter
Dracula.
2 of Dracula.
Oh, okay, not Dio.
Can you paste it in the chat again?
Dio. Here we go.
Alright, I believe.
And what's really
That's-
cool is they have links to all the chapters in the index.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah, I do
nice?
like that. We're on 2, I believe, right?
Dracula.
Mhm.
Everything past 10 is made up shit. I don't know how to count after 10 in the Roman numerals.
Yeah.
Haven't you played Final
Don't you-
Fantasy before?
Okay, fine. I only know up to 16. But there's only 16 Final Fantasy.
I actually sort
Exactly.
of know how Roman numerals work. Like in my college class for like, I think what basics of mathematics, we were learning about Roman numerals of all things. So I kind of
Mhm.
understand how they work.
Oh, looking at
Nice.
it now, I do see a clear pattern there, but.
Yeah, there's a reason why we don't use them anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Numbers
they
just
get
work better.
big.
They get
Yeah.
complicated. Like they apparently once you get to a certain length, you actually start using like I think multiplication
Oh.
to
Wow.
shorten them.
Oh wow.
Oh
Like
my.
10 to the
Making
nth
me do
power.
math with the
If I could find
numbers?
my old notebook, I could probably show how that works, but I don't want to dig around for my math notebook.
Yeah. Oh, I see chapter 2 is significantly shorter than 1. 1 felt like it was probably as long as my like script for my first game.
Nice. Oh yeah, it's much shorter. Okay, I wanted a quick bathroom break before we do anything more.
Good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
It's break time, peeps.
Break time.
Break time.
I'd be willing to read the first part when we come back.
Alright.
Okay. BRB.
Your beat.
I'm sticking around. I'm gonna interview anyone who is still here. Oh no, everyone's pretending they're not here. They don't want me to talk to them. Or everyone's actually just. You're not here. Okay, I'll yap about myself. Let's see. I finished the short love game I was making from scratch. I wanted to show everyone it's pretty simple to make an RPG Maker game alone. It only took me 7 hours to make a 2-minute game. Uh-oh, Yoshikage Kira. Oh, I didn't know you could do that during the... Oh, wow. Wait, does that affect them, though? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, good. I was about to say, if it does affect them, then I should stop using this for giveaways, but it seems to be fine. Killer Queen, exactly. Rigged. Oh no, it's not rigged, trust me. You thought you were being smart. Yeah, it's good to know though that doesn't work. I usually did this for giveaways, but it's been a hot minute. Not rigged. I just happen to be this happens to be me, I don't know. What? It's not rigged. I would never do such
Hey, I'm
something like
back.
that. Hi Corey. Here's your recount.
I am back.
Hello, welcome back. Corey, is there anything you're personally working on lately that you're thinking of putting out there?
Working on commissions.
Oh yeah, did you
That's that.
you put a post about that on anywhere?
Like post what I have so far, or like post.
No, like a commission sheet or anything.
Oh
like that
yeah, I
online?
should probably post that on social media, but I don't have a huge following, so I don't know if that many people will be interesting. Plus, I need to finish up the stuff I already have so far.
Okay, it's not rigged, I promise. It just so happens to be like that.
Yeah.
Taking me longer than I thought, but but to be fair, I could be working on this more often.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not rigged. It's
What are you
I have
working
this
on?
urge of like I really want to write Star Trek fan fiction someday, but my inner urge to just want to write something versus my fear of what if he would not fucking say that? Fight!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here with a half Romulan bones McCoy AU. Like, who gives a shit if he would say that in actuality? This is an AU.
Thing is, it's like it's different because I'm like I guess in my case I was like, what if he had an intern who unconscious to is curmudgeonly deeply cares about everyone but so fucking tired personality. This intern was basically trying her absolute best and genuinely cheerful, but also a ball of neuroticism and anxiety. Which honestly feels kind of typical of most college graduates. Like, I'm just sitting here
Yes.
filling out job applications like, please fucking hire me!
Beautiful.
yeah, that's kind of like where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a
Hand
job
shake.
interview though,
Shaking
Oh,
your head
nice.
through the
but it's not in animation. It's in like sales and marketing.
Oh,
I just decided like, fuck it. What if I apply to a bunch of these jobs and see what happens? It's like,
oh.
lo and behold, like every other industry is way easier to get into
Then
besides animation. Yeah, animation is like the final boss of job applications. And that's the major I picked.
I am a history major, so I'm picking out mostly works in like museum curation, and also there's this one at Gettysburg, which I kind of want to work on. Yeah.
Ooh,
Nice.
What can I say?
nice.
I'm
I
just
hope you
really
get some of that.
strong. I can't
Thank you,
I
I
can't help
appreciate it.
what
I've been
I
I
can't
have
help
an
what my
Excel
muscles
sheet
do.
where I've been slowly stacking up all of my things.
Yeah. Have you been to grad school?
And I should get into more
I have not.
giveaways.
I'm
I'd
still
win
in
them
my
all the time.
last year of college,
Oh, nice.
so I'm kind of
Alright.
panicking because of like,
What
oh
is this,
fuck,
third
I have
time?
an
Third time's
entire
the charm?
composition to work on top of job hunting. Mostly, I just kind of want to get this stuff out of the way early.
Look,
Yeah,
I got bonked twice.
Mhm.
See, look.
that's good to do.
I'm
Also,
at half health.
you might be able to get an in on internships if you apply early enough after college.
Oh, you
I
turned
wish
away
I
that
did
health
that.
kit. I'm sorry. I can't control what people do.
Yeah.
Time for intro-
Darn. Oof.
Dang.
I'm just kind of.
Whoa, I
have
just
this
walked
urge where I'm
over
just like,
a
I
health kit
have the
again.
violent urge to draw just stuff of my favorite pairings because I'm like, man, the tags have been like, I just want to, I desperately need to more stuff that's really specific
Oh, who's gonna get it?
to
Who's gonna get it?
the target audience of me.
Mood.
But like, where?
it.
But also, I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm like, wow, help.
See, I don't win
Like
every
it's
time.
hard to
Look at
get
that.
back into it, kind of thing.
Yeah, because I've spent so much time.
I was
working
really
on
close to it.
extraneous shit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's hard getting back into writing when the words just aren't wording.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
just
hold on.
sitting here like
Dying on purpose.
I guess
Alright, let's go
mostly the
again.
thing is I'm just like
Let's see if Miles could
I'm
win
just
this
sitting.
one.
The one I really want to get to is that one Dark Souls 3 story I have planned out, but I'm just kind of centering around my action one. Not even like ship stuff. I'm like, this girl just fucking sucks, and I want her to be one-sidedly in love with these specific characters, and just have them react to her with like, girl, what?
That would be cool.
The one with her and Henri is basically soulmates, but played for horror.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's interesting.
And it takes a lot of this very specifically kind of horrifying implications of that of one of the endings, and then is just but yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here and I'm like, the problem with the Dark Souls 3 one is I got like really far into the first chapter of a what is supposed to be like a 3-chapter fic with a epilogue, and then I realized, oh my fucking god, I don't like what I've written. I'm going to keep the draft, but I really need to overhaul this. And also I need someone who really likes Dark Souls 3 to ensure this is lore accurate. Help.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Anyone contact you about that?
Here. I am just sitting here, man.
Uh, jobs. Sitting here hoping that maybe if I have once I get this one transcript done and I can have
Yeah.
something to show for it,
Well,
that
yeah.
maybe I could get like something small in transcribing to make money on the side that's not too invasive in my not schedule.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's like, please don't have a required degree for this, because, like, what? I don't know. Like, the only thing I have in this is an associate's in general electives. And that's not really worth much shit.
Unfortunately.
You could probably just like cut out the bar scene or something, like record it probably with press permission or something, and then like have that as a part of the portfolio. Because chances are people aren't gonna watch an entire session anyway, so you could have that
True.
as an example for now.
I have been pondering taking a bit of a snippet of it, giving it to Troy, like, here, figure out how this works. That way I can figure out the rest. Because I don't want to dump what's going to be probably well over 80 pages of words on him when he probably doesn't even know how to do transcripts, captioning. And I've also been heavily considering doing one of his something shorter of someone's that I can get done quicker. That way we can figure that out. Because
Yeah.
while Troy does have mostly a lot of long videos on his main channel, he does have a few videos that are separated from the mainstream that are shorter that I could use.
Yeah. Something
I
that
agree.
doesn't take as much time as this one has.
Yeah.
And especially not with something that's like an hour for 5 minutes of video.
Yeah, to be honest, there was a lot of us speaking at all times during that 5 minutes. So
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
and quite a few situations had me backpedaling a lot because we talk over each other way too much. And that makes transcribing a lot more difficult. Like, I actually even have like a few sections where it's like, I can't hear this person clearly. I don't know what this person says, but I can hear this other person a lot better.
That's when you type incoherent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Also, I want to do more animation
Ooh.
soon. Every time, because I realize I
Agreed.
haven't done enough of that since graduating. Well, like on my own for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done a lot of that since graduating college, and I feel bad, and I want to do that.
I would love to see your animations.
Yeah.
As one animator to another.
And I want to get better at like
Mhm, mhm.
modeling and rigging characters and animating them, so I can put that in my portfolio too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. I suppose shall we get our vampire on?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm ready.
Who would like to suck the blood?
I would like to suck the blood.
My
All right.
crappy Dracula impression.
Nice. Okay. Here we go. Chapter 2 of Dracula. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. The 5th of May. I must have been asleep, for certainly if I had been fully awake, I must have noticed the approach of such a remarkable place. In the gloom the courtyard looked of considerable size, and as several dark ways led from it under great round arches, it perhaps seemed bigger than it really is. I have not yet been able to see it by daylight. When the calash stopped, the driver jumped down and held out his hand to assist me to alight. Again I could not but notice his prodigious strength. His hand actually seemed like a steel vice that could have crushed mine if he had chosen. Then he took out my traps and placed them on the ground beside me as I stood close to a great door, old and studded with large iron nails, and set in a projecting doorway of massive stone. I could see even in the dim light that the stone was massively carved, but that the carving had been much worn by time and weather. As I stood, the driver jumped again into his seat and shook the reins. The horses started forward, and trap and all disappeared down one of the dark openings. I stood in silence where I was, for I did not know what to do. Of bell or knocker there was no sign. Through these frowning walls and dark window openings it was not likely that my voice could penetrate. The time I waited seemed endless, and I felt doubts and fears crowding upon me. What sort of place had I come to, and among what kind of people? What sort of grim adventure was it on which I had embarked? Was this a customary incident in the life of a solicitor's clerk sent out to explain the purchase of a London estate to a foreigner? Solicitor's clerk! Mina would not like that. Solicitor. But just before leaving London, I got word that my examination was successful, and I am now a full-blown solicitor. I began to rub my eyes and pinch myself to see if I were awake. It all seemed like a horrible nightmare to me, and I expected that I should suddenly awake and find myself at home, with the dawn struggling in through the windows, as I had now and again felt in the morning after a day of overwork. But my flesh answered the pinching test, and my eyes were not to be deceived. I was indeed awake, and among the Carpathians. All I could do now was to be patient, and to wait the coming of the morning. Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks the gleam of a coming light. Then there was the sound of rattling chains and the clanking of massive bolts drawn back. A key was turned with the loud grating noise of a long disuse, and the great door swung back. Within stood a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white moustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of colour about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without chimney or globe of any kind, throwing long, quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open door. The old man motioned me in with his right hand with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with a strange intonation, "Welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will." He made no motion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone. The instant, however, that I had stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward, and holding out his hand grasped mine with a strength which made me wince, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed as cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead than a living man. Again he said, "Welcome to my house. Come freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that which I had noticed in the driver, whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So, to make sure, I said interrogatively, "Count Dracula?" Ah!
Uh-oh.
Dracula got in real life. Oh gosh.
Dracula gone. Well,
If you die in Dracula, you
I
die
guess
in
the
real
kid
life.
is here for the reading now. Oh no.
If you die in Dracula, you die in real life. It's like what was that one? Who jumped out of the book? I think it was like House of Leaves or something, where like the book.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Count Dracula?" He bowed in a courtly way as he replied, "I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in, the night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest." As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall, and stepping out, took my luggage. He had carried it in before I could forestall him. I protested, but he insisted, "Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see to your comfort myself." He insisted on carrying my traps along the passage, and then up a great winding stair and along another great passage, on whose stone floor our steps rang heavily. At the end of this he threw open a heavy door, and I rejoiced to see within a well-lit room in which a table was spread for supper, and on whose mighty hearth a great fire of logs, freshly replenished, flamed and flared. The Count halted, putting down my bags, closed the door, and crossing the room, opened another door, which led into a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp, and seemingly without a window of any sort. Passing through this, he opened another door, and motioned me to enter. It was a welcome sight, for here was a great bedroom, well lighted and warmed with another log fire, also added to but lately, for the top logs were fresh, which sent a hollow roar up the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying before he closed the door, "You will need after your journey to refresh yourself by making your toilet. I trust you will find all you wish. When you are ready, come into the other room, where you will find your supper prepared." The light and warmth and the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered that I was half famished with hunger, so, making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. I found supper already laid out. My host, who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table, and said, "I pray you, be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust, excuse that I do not join you, but I have dined already, and I do not sup." I handed to him the sealed letter which Mr. Hawkins had entrusted to me. He opened it and read it gravely. Then, with a charming smile, he handed it to me to read. One passage of it, at least, gave me a thrill of pleasure. "I must regret that an attack of gout, for which malady I am a constant sufferer, forbids absolutely any travelling on my part for some time to come, but I am happy to say I can send a sufficient substitute, one in whom I am every possible confidence. He is a young man, full of energy and talent in his own way, and of a very faithful disposition. He is discreet and silent, and has grown into manhood in my service. He shall be ready to attend on you when you will during his stay, and shall take your instructions in all matters." The Count himself came forward and took off the cover of a dish, and I fell to at once an excellent roast chicken. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, of which I had 2 glasses, was my supper. During the time I was eating it, the Count asked me many questions as to my journey, and I told him by degrees all I had experienced. By this time I had finished my supper, and by my host's desire had drawn up a chair by the fire, and begun to smoke a cigar which he offered me, at the same time excusing himself that he did not smoke. I had now an opportunity of observing him, and found him of a very marked physiognomy. His face was a very strong aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils, with lofty domed forehead, and hair growing scantily round the temples, but profusely elsewhere. His eyebrows were very massive, almost meeting over the nose, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl in its own profusion. The mouth, so far as I could see it under the heavy moustache, was fixed and rather cruel-looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth. These protruded over the lips, whose remarkable ruddiness showed astonishing vitality in a man of his years. For the rest, his ears were pale, and at the tops extremely pointed. The chin was broad and strong, and the cheeks firm though thin. The general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. Hitherto I had noticed the backs of his hands as they lay on his knees in the firelight, and they had seemed rather white and fine, but seeing them now close to me, I could not but notice that they were rather coarse, broad, with squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hairs in the center of the palm. The nails were long and fine, and cut to a sharp point. As the Count leaned over me and his hands touched me, I could not repress a shudder. It may have been that his breath was rank, but a horrible feeling of nausea came over me, which, do what I would, I could not conceal. The Count, evidently noticing it, drew back, and with a grim sort of smile, which showed more than he had yet done his protuberant teeth, sat himself down again on his own side of the fireplace. We were both silent for a while, and as I looked towards the window I saw the first dim streak of the coming dawn. There seemed a strange stillness over everything, but as I listened I heard as if from down below in the valley the howling of many wolves. The Count's eyes gleamed and he said, "Listen to them, the children of the night! What music they make!" Seeing, I suppose, some expression in my face strange to him, he added, "Sir, you dwellers in the city cannot enter into the feelings of the hunter." Then he rose and said, "But you must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will. I have to be awake till the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." With a courteous bow, he opened for me himself the door to the octagonal room, and I entered my bedroom. I'm all in a sea of wonders, I doubt. I fear, I think strange things, which I dare not confess to my own soul. God keep me, if only for the sake of those dear to me. All right. Ooh, does somebody else want to take over for the next day of May 7th, perhaps?
Who would like to May 7th?
I might have to peace out because I'm going to be just kind of heading downstairs to make some tea and read my new book with the family.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining.
That's fine.
Right. It was really fun paying attention. You're really good at reading this stuff aloud. It's awesome.
Thank you. I get nearly daily practice, so.
Yippee.
Thanks.
I hope to see you all again at some point. Maybe I'll have to do a read aloud of Moby Dick for
Ooh.
Star
Yes.
One.
Please do.
Add it to our list. If you find a link to it, we'll
One
put it on.
chapter each session. Good night.
Good night. And also, hi, Owl.
Hey, how is everyone?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Hi, Owl. I'm doing all right.
Doing well. I like reading for Dracula. he's a character. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, with the accent too.
Oh, he's so vibrant
I love
for a
hearing all
dead guy.
Yeah.
Owl's accent's great.
Ah, he's welcoming all. I can also do May 7th. but
He's a great guy. I
Well,
love Dracula.
I'll go ahead and
He's
ask
fun.
around first. Did anyone else want to continue where was?
Yeah, I don't mind either way. Alright.
Okay, I guess
Looks
it's
like
you.
I'm taking the reins of this Dracula mobile. All right.
I don't think anyone else could
Wait,
do
wait, wait.
his voice like you do.
Yeah, I was just like, you're really doing
I
great
have
at it, though.
I just kind of got a bit focused on art right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
no worries.
no worries. I was gonna say Stag does a really great accent too, but yes, I shall continue.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking it was fun reading for Dracula, and I want to, but I also really want to get these flat colors done.
No
No
worries.
worries
Wait,
about that.
just tell Stag when Dracula speaks and Dracula.
Nice. All right.
Do different characters.
Okay. Here we go. It's the 7th of May. It is again early morning, but I have rested and enjoyed the last 24 hours. I slept till late in the day and awoke of my own accord. When I had dressed myself, I went into the room where we had supped and found a cold breakfast laid out, with coffee kept hot by the pot being placed on the hearth. There was a card on the table, on which was written, "I have to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me. D." I set to and enjoyed a hearty meal. When I had done, I looked for a bell, so that I might let the servants know I had finished, but I could not find one. There are certainly odd deficiencies in the house, considering the extraordinary evidences of wealth which are around me. The table, surfaces of gold, and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains and upholstery of the chairs and sofas and the hangings of my bed are of the costliest and most beautiful fabrics, and must have been of fabulous value when they were made, for they are centuries old, though in excellent order. I saw something like them in Hampton Court, but there they were, worn and frayed and moth-eaten. But still in none of the rooms is there a mirror. There is not even a toilet glass on my table, and I had to get the little shaving glass from my bag before I could either shave or brush my hair. I have not yet seen a servant anywhere, or heard a sound near the castle except the howling of wolves. Some time after I had finished my meal, I do not know whether to call it breakfast or dinner, for it was between 5 and 6 o'clock when I had it, I looked about for something to read, for I did not like to go about the castle until I had asked the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room, book, newspaper, or even writing materials, so I opened another door in the room and found a sort of library. The door opposite mine I tried, but found it locked. In the library I found, to my great delight, a vast number of English books, whole shelves full of them, and bound volumes of magazines and newspapers. A table in the centre was littered with English magazines and newspapers, though none of them were of very recent date. The books were of the most varied kind: history, geography, politics, political economy, botany, geology, law, all relating to England and English life and customs and manners. There were even such books of reference as the London Directory, the Red and Blue books, Whitaker's Almanac, the Army and Navy listings, and, it somehow gladdened my heart to see it, the Law List. Whilst I was looking at the books, the door opened, and the Count entered. He saluted me in a hearty way, and hoped that I had had a good night's rest. Then he went on. I am glad you found your way in here, for I am sure there is much that will interest you. These companions, and he laid his hand on some of the books, have been good friends to me, and for some years past, ever since I had the idea of going to London, have given me many, many hours of pleasure. Through them I have come to know your great England, and to know her is to love her. I long to go through the crowded streets of your mighty London, to be in the midst of the whirl and rush of humanity, to share its life, its change, its death, and all that makes it what it is. But alas, as yet I only know your tongue through books. To you, my friend, I look that I know it to speak. But, Count, I said, you know and speak English thoroughly. He bowed gravely. I thank you, my friend, for your all too flattering estimate, but yet I fear that I am but a little way on the road I would travel. True, I know the grammar and the words, but yet I know not how to speak them. Indeed, I said, you speak excellently. Not so, he answered. Well, I know that did I move and speak in your London, none there who would not know me for a stranger. That is not enough for me. Here I am noble, I am boyard, the common people know me, and I am master. But the stranger in a strange land, he is no one. Men know him not, and to know not is to care not for. I am content if I am like the rest, so that no man stops if he see me, or pause in his speaking if he hear my words. Stranger, I have been so long master that I would be master still, or at least that none other should be master of me. You come to me not alone as agent of my friend Peter Hawkins, of Exeter, to tell me all about my new estate in London. You shall, I trust, rest here with me awhile, so that by our talking I may learn the English intonation, and I would that you tell me when I make error, even of the smallest, in my speaking. I am sorry that I had to be away so long today, but you will, I know, forgive one who has so many important affairs in hand. Of course, I said all I could about being willing, and asked if I might come into that room when I chose. He answered, "Yes, certainly," and added, "You may go anywhere you wish in the castle, except where the doors are locked, where of course you will not wish to go. There is reason that all things as they are, and did you see with my eyes and know with my knowledge, you would perhaps better understand." I said I was sure of this, and then he went on. "We are in Transylvania, and Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways, and there shall be to you many strange things. Nay, from what you have told me of your experiences already, you know something of what strange things there may be." This led to much conversation, and as it was evident that he wanted to talk, if only for talking's sake, I asked him many questions regarding things that had already happened to me or come within my notice. Sometimes he sheered off the subject, or turned the conversation by pretending not to understand, but generally he answered all I asked most frankly. Then, as time went on, and I had got somewhat bolder, I asked him of some of the strange things of the preceding night, as, for instance, why the coachman went to the places where he had seen the blue flames. He then explained to me that it was commonly believed that on a certain night of the year, last night, in fact, when all evil spirits are supposed to have unchecked sway, a blue flame is seen over any place where treasure has been concealed. "That treasure has been hidden," he went on, "in the region through which you came last night. There can be but little doubt, for it was the ground fought over for centuries by the Wallachia, the Saxon, and the Turk. Why, there is hardly a foot of soil in all this region that has not been enriched by the blood of men, patriots or invaders. In old days there were stirring times, when the Austrian and the Hungarian came up in hordes, and the patriots went out to meet them, men and women, the aged and the children too, and waited their coming on the rocks above the passes, that they might sweep destruction on them with their artificial avalanches. When the invader was triumphant, he found but little, for whatever there was had been sheltered in the friendly soil." "But how," said I, "can it have remained so long undiscovered, when there is a sure index to it if men would but take the trouble to look?" Oh dear. You don't hear anything in the background, do you?
A little bit.
I hear
Oh,
a child
just a little
giggling. Bit.
Shh.
It's okay.
There's nothing. Okay.
Are
There
you
we go.
enjoying the reading?
Possibly. Oh no. All right, where we're at. The Count smiled, and as his lips ran back over his gums, the long, sharp canine teeth showed out strangely. He answered, "Because your peasant is at heart a coward and a fool. Those flames only appear on one night, and on that night no man of this land will, if he can help it, stir without his doors. And, dear sir, even if he did, he would not know what to do. Why, even the peasants that you tell me of who marked the place of the flame would not know where to look in daylight, even for his own work. Even you would not, I dare be sworn, be able to find these places again." "There you are right," I said. "I know no more than the dead where even to look for them." Then we drifted into other matters. "Come," he said at last, "tell me of London and of the house which you have procured for me." With an apology for my remissness, I went into my own room to get the papers from my bag. Whilst I was placing them in order, I heard a rattling of china and silver in the next room, and as I passed through, noticed that the table had been cleared and the lamp lit, for it was by this time deep into the dark. The lamps were also lit in the study or library, and I found the Count lying on the sofa, reading, of all things in the world, an English Bradshaw's Guide. When I came in, he cleared the books and papers from the table, and with him I went into plans and deeds and figures of all sorts. He was interested in everything, and asked me a myriad questions about the place and its surroundings. He clearly had studied beforehand all he could get on the subject of the neighbourhood, for he evidently at the end knew very much more than I did. When I remarked this, he answered, "Well, but, my friend, is it not needful that I should? When I go there I shall be all alone, and my friend Harker Jonathan, nay, pardon me, I fall into my country's habit of putting your patronymic first. My friend Jonathan Harker will not be by my side to correct and aid me. He will be in Exeter, miles away, probably working at the papers of the law with my other friend Peter Hawkins. So, we went thoroughly into the business of the purchase of the estate at Pierfleet. When I had told him the facts, and got his signature to the necessary papers, and had written a letter with them ready to post to Mr. Hawkins, he began to ask me how I had come across so suitable a place. I read to him the notes which I had made at the time, and which I inscribe here. At Pierfleet, on a by-road, I came across just such a place as seemed to be required, and where was displayed a dilapidated notice and that the place was for sale. It is surrounded by a high wall of ancient structure, built of heavy stones, and has not been repaired for a large number of years. The closed gates are of heavy old oak and iron, all eaten with rust. The estate is called Carfax, not to be confused with Carfax. No doubt a corruption of the old quatre face, as the house is four-sided, agreeing with the cardinal points of the compass. It contains in all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid stone wall above mentioned. There are many trees on it, which make it in places gloomy, and there is a deep, dark-looking pond or small lake, evidently fed by some springs, as the water is clear and flows away in a fair-sized stream. The house is very large and of all periods back, as I should say, to medieval times, for one part is of a stone immensely thick, with only a few windows high up and heavily barred with iron. It looks like part of a keep, and is close to an old chapel or church. I could not enter it, as I had not the key of the door leading to it from the house, but I have taken with my kodak views of it from various points. The house has been added to, but in a very straggling way, and I can only guess at the amount of ground it covers, which must be very great. There are but a few houses close at hand, one being a very large house only recently added to and formed into a private lunatic asylum. It is not, however, visible from the grounds. When I had finished, he said, "I am glad that it is old and big. I myself am of an old family, and to live in a new house would kill me. A house cannot be made habitable in a day, and after all, how few days go to make up a century. I rejoice also that there is a chapel of old times. We Transylvanian nobles love not to think that our bones may lie amongst the common dead. I seek not gaiety nor mirth, not the bright voluptuousness of much sunshine and sparkling waters which please the young and gay. I am no longer young, and my heart, through weary years of mourning over the dead, is not attuned to mirth. Moreover, the walls of my castle are broken, the shadows are many, and the wind breathes cold through the broken battlements and casements. I love the shade and the shadow, and would be alone with my thoughts when I may." Somehow his words and his look did not seem to accord, or else it was that his cast of face made his smile look malignant and saturnine. Presently, with an excuse, he left me, asking me to put all my papers together. He was some little time away, and I began to look at some books around me. One was an atlas, which I found open naturally at England, as if that map had been much used. On looking at it, I found in certain places little rings marked, and on examining these I noticed that one was near London on the east side, manifestly where his new estate was situated. The other two were Exeter and Whitby on the Yorkshire coast. It was the better part of an hour when the Count returned. "Aha!" he said. "Still at your books? Good! But you must not work always. Come, I am informed that your supper is ready." He took my arm, and we went into the next room, where I found an excellent supper ready on the table. The Count again excused himself, as he had dined out on his being away from home. But he sat as on the previous night, and chatted whilst I ate. After supper I smoked, as on the last evening, and the Count stayed with me, chatting and asking questions on every conceivable subject, hour after hour. I felt that it was getting very late indeed, but I did not say anything, for I felt under obligation to meet my host's wishes in every way. I was not sleepy, as the long sleep yesterday had fortified me, but I could not help experiencing that chill which comes over one at the coming of the dawn, which is like, in its way, the turn of the tide. They say that people who are near death die generally at the change to the dawn or at the turn of the tide. Anyone who has when tired, and tied as it were to his post, experienced change in the atmosphere, can well believe it. All at once we heard the crow of a cock coming up with preternatural shrillness through the clear morning air. Count Dracula, jumping to his feet, said, "Why, there is the morning again! How remiss I am to let you stay up so long! You must make your conversation regarding my dear new country of England less interesting, so that I may not forget how time flies by us." And with a courtly bow, he quickly left me. I went into my own room and drew the curtains, but there was little to notice. My window opened into the courtyard. All I could see was the warm grey of quickening sky. So I pulled the curtains again, and have written of this day. Ooh, give me 1 second. Okay, we may now resume the next chapter. The 8th of May. I began to fear, as I wrote in this book, that I was getting too diffuse, but now I am glad that I went into detail from the first, for there's something so strange about this place and all in it that I cannot but feel uneasy. I wish I were safe out of it, or that I had never come. It may be that this strange night existence is telling on me, but would that that were all! If there were anyone to talk to, I could bear it, but there is no one. I have only the Count to speak with, and he, I fear I am myself the only living soul within the place. What's up, Corey?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I was just talking to my cat.
Oh, yeah. No worries. Let me be prosaic so far as facts can be. It will help me to bear up, and imagination must not run riot with me. If it does, I am lost. Let me say at once how I stand, or seem to. I only slept a few hours when I went to bed, and feeling that I could not sleep any more, got up. I had hung my shaving glass by the window, and was just beginning to shave. Suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder, and heard the Count's voice saying to me, "Good morning!" I started, for it amazed me that I had not seen him, since the reflection of the glass covered the whole room behind me. In starting, I had cut myself slightly, but did not notice it at the moment. Having answered the Count's salutation, I turned to the glass again to see how I had been mistaken. This time there could be no error, for the man was close to me, and I could see him over my shoulder. But there was no reflection of him in the mirror. The whole room behind me was displayed, but there was no sign of a man in it, except myself. This was startling, and, coming on the top of so many strange things, was beginning to increase that vague feeling of uneasiness which I always have when the Count is near. At the instant I saw that the cut had bled a little, and the blood was trickling over my chin. I laid down the razor, turning as I did so half round to look for some sticking plaster. When the Count saw my face, his eyes blazed with a sort of demoniac fury, and he suddenly made a grab at my throat. I drew away, and his hand touched the string of beads which held the crucifix. It made an instant change in him, for the fury passed so quickly that I could hardly believe that it was ever there. "Take care," he said. "Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you think in this country." Then, seizing the shaving glass, he went on, "And this is the wretched thing that has done the mischief. It is a foul bauble of man's vanity. Away with it!" And opening the heavy window with one wrench of his terrible hand, he flung out the glass, which was shattered into 1,000 pieces on the stones of the courtyard far below. Then he withdrew without a word. This is very annoying, for I do not see how I am to shave unless in my watch case or the bottom of the shaving pot, which is fortunately of metal. When I went into the dining room, breakfast was prepared, but I could not find the Count anywhere, so I breakfasted alone. It is strange that as yet I have not seen the Count eat or drink. He must be a very peculiar man. After breakfast I did a little exploring in the castle. I went out on the stairs and found a room looking towards the south. The view was magnificent, and from where I stood there was every opportunity of seeing it. The castle is on the very edge of a terrible precipice. A stone falling from the window would fall 1,000 feet without touching anything. As far as the eye can reach is a sea of green treetops, with occasionally a deep rift where there is a chasm. Here and there are silver threads where the rivers wind in deep gorges through the forests. But I am not in heart to describe beauty, for when I had seen the view I explored further. Doors, doors, doors everywhere, and all locked and bolted. In no place save from the windows in the castle walls is there an available exit. The castle is a veritable prison, and I am a prisoner. Thus ends chapter 2. Our main man, a prisoner.
Wow.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
nicely done.
Ooh,
That's
nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love how you read this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
you-
too.
Yeah.
Aw,
He
it's very fun
totally.
to read. Love doing it.
Yay. Yeah, he
Oh.
totally doesn't want to be there against his will.
Mm-hmm. It's fun though. Oh my gosh. I didn't know Dracula was so charismatic. That is a really fun thing. He's cool.
Yeah, great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
It's very interesting, like learning about how vampires were basically made to make fun of like the nobles and like
Mhm.
the
Mm.
inherent like leech whoa, how would I say it? Like just of richer people, like how they're like they're just like I don't even know how to describe it, but like
Like
just
people who
beings
just
that like
hoard their
stay in
wealth.
yes, exactly. And like leech off of other people. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes a
it's
lot of
cool.
sense.
Really interesting seeing how vampires evolve. Like, not even just because, like, even Dracula's depiction is pretty modern compared to how vampires used to be. Like, really
Mhm.
old, kind of original vampires used to be way more corpse-like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it would kind of ruin the surprise if Dracula looked like a corpse instead of just like a normal guy.
Yeah,
They're like, well, he's just now realizing that there's something up.
I love our main character. He's a bit of a dip who really likes his red chili peppers.
Yeah, he's surprisingly chill about all of this.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's an open-minded guy. He won't judge too harshly.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what? Sometimes I don't see myself in the reflection. Sometimes must just be a
Yeah.
glitch.
Yeah,
It's like
must just be
he's
a
like,
reality
hey,
glitch.
he's like,
Mm.
as long as the Dracosi is good enough, I can ignore all the red flags.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right.
Yeah,
How
and
are y'all stamina doing, by the way?
I am
I'm doing
pretty
fine.
rejuvenated because I got this thing done. Or, well, no, I got the main flat colors for the characters done.
I just drank a
Woo!
yay.
whole thing of soda, so I feel like I'm awake. Good
Nice.
Yeah, and also I'm impressed by you do this with Dooley Seafair as well, but you keep an accent on for quite a while too.
I can do it. Actually, I've practiced it a
Yeah,
lot. It's really fun. I enjoy speaking with a different
yeah.
tone, intonation. So
You're
it's
pretty good
something
at
I
yapping.
just always really loved it as a child. So I kept up with it.
Oh, your child voice is good too.
Oh, oh, thank you. Oh, a child voice. Oh no, mother, I've got a cold.
I feel like giving you some coin, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I'm gonna.
Second chapter of Alta Vita, if you'd like to give it a read.
Oh, me?
Yes, you.
Would anyone
Here,
else
I'll
like
Oh
to
send
read
yeah.
it? I think the first chapter is pretty fun.
Ooh, it is. There we go. Link sent.
Oh my gosh. It's been, again, same thing. It's been very long since I've gone back and read these chapters.
I know. It's also been a long time for me.
This is a random question. How long have y'all been like friends? Is it before
Oh,
the server?
Yeah. Well, wait, I actually don't know. It
it's
was
been at least before you made Alter Vita, right? A little bit before. So
yeah, a
Oh.
little bit before. I think
2023?
actually I
Yeah.
can look back at the exact time, the exact artwork that you commented on the first time on my Instagram. It was 2021, I think.
Oh my
Wowzers.
gosh. So that's right,
Yeah.
because then it was like a slow burn where I left a comment. I think you followed me back or something. And then it was like
Yeah.
back and forth for a little bit. And then finally I was like, hey, do you play this on PlayStation? And you were like, yeah. And then we played together and then it went on from
Yes!
there. Yeah, or something like
I
that.
think our first game was Dark Souls 3, I think. Or was it? No, it was Demon Souls.
It was
Demon
Demon
Souls.
Souls. Yep, with Smo.
Because that's when you
Oh, he's
introduced me to
good.
Lafrust too.
That's
I'll be back in a second.
right.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, good memories.
Oh my gosh.
Ah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Right.
figured it felt like y'all were old friends. That was just my curiosity, personally.
Oh yeah. We
Yeah.
share the same brain cell on a lot of things, which is really fun. Also, the love for Crestfallen. There we go.
Oh, so yeah. I think that was the main one where you commented. You were like, I also like the Crestfallen Warrior. I was like,
Yes.
oh my gosh.
The only other person. One of
Yeah.
the very few.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh
Again.
man.
Okay. Yeah. Corey is currently on Rear Backstab. Let's
Okay.
Once she's back, we could see who would like to read this. Would you like to read this one too, Al,
That's
or
right so far, Stag.
If someone else would like to read it, I think but if not, I'm fine with reading it.
okay?
You want me to read it? You want me to go twice? You want me to go twice?
If you want to, if you like
mean,
halfway through, you can tap out and then I can read the rest. But Petrus and the Crestfallen Warrior are on this one, so I think you'll like it. I mean, you've already read it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, my crestfallen voice. It's a little reedy. He's got a bit of a reedy voice, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I have to think of it. Oh my gosh, it's been so long.
Yes, it has. Oh my god, I'm so excited.
I love your accents. They're so good. Your voice.
Yeah, me
Thank you.
too.
Oh my gosh. Wild.
It's
Ooh.
crazy that you're able to keep up that accent for so long.
Yeah.
Y'all can't? No.
Yo, yeehaw.
I mean it is.
Can
But
do a
no,
southern
it's just
accent.
Say hi to my cat.
oh yeah, man.
Okay.
I'll slip that in
Oh, I
that
can
like
do a southern accent.
a snap of a
Say hi
thing.
to-
What's also
Yeehaw.
helped is that
Matthew
what was
Mercer.
it? And like
Oh no, I was just being silly. I said Matthew Mercer because he's Cassidy.
Ganondorf. I mean, I'll never get over hearing him. I'll never get over it.
Southern
ever.
Ganondorf.
Southern Ganondorf.
It's high noon.
Amazing. Anyways, what was I gonna say? One thing that well, Owl has been there, but sometimes I'll get into character for playing like a Soulsborne or even like Monster Hunter, and I'll just keep up the character the
Yes!
whole way, just like like light
It's
LARPing, I'd say.
Yes,
It's
and
so
oh my
fun.
gosh, your crestfallen impression is like the best. But it's so funny because like I struggle with my Atiri impression because I can't do the Welsh accent without
It's
it like turning into
hard.
something that isn't. Um, and
Mhm.
so like I can't hold up the accent, but Omev can hold up the impression. And so I can't tell if when Omev is talking to me, like when we're playing Monster Hunter, if she's trying to talk to me like normal or it's crestfallen.
I have to switch out of the accent first, then you know it's me for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, since you've read so much of Dracula just now, I was just like, what's regular accent again?
Oh, well, it's actually this. I've been masking the entire time. My American accent is really good, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you
Like, you
really
can
fooled
never
me.
tell.
Yeah.
Like for the whole trip, you kept on that American accent, so I was...
Yeah. You
Exactly. I
actually
didn't want to
just
freak you guys
gaslight us
out.
into believing that you're British.
There are a few words, though, that'll trip me up. Like, sometimes I'll hear, like, actual British people say it. I'm like, oh, that's not Americanized. Well, like, what was it? Catacombs? Catacombs. What else? Aluminum?
Tombstone.
Aluminium, actually.
Aluminium, actually.
Dumber.
Yeah.
Aluminium.
Okay, we'll wait for you, honey.
I mean, there's
Yes.
so many dialects in English, so does it really matter? And it's like, especially like other languages, because like you got Swiss German and German German, where Swiss German is basically a different language.
Mhm.
So it's like every time I think about that, it's like, why are we complaining about the different dialects of English again? This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh, I've always heard it being pronounced as aluminium.
I
But
usually
yeah.
hear
Oh, you have?
aluminum.
It's one of the
There's
things.
it's a similar situation with like the different dialects of Arabic. Like from like every single even in regions in Syria, they speak Arabic differently. And I used to learn Arabic from a Lebanese teacher, and my grandmother would complain to me when I would try to speak in Arabic to her. She would complain to me and tell me that that's not how the Syrians would say it. I'm like, you guys were the same country once. Why are you making this an issue?
Yeah.
What country is your family from?
Syria. My mama and her family, they're from
Oh,
Syria.
how come, how come she was complaining if you were saying it right?
Well, because I was learning from, I don't know, I think a couple words are pronounced differently for Lebanese Arabic speakers and Syrian speakers, or Syrian Arabic speakers.
Oh, okay.
I know the most different dialect is Egypt Arabic speakers. Like a Scottish person with a thick accent talking to someone who has a thick American accent.
Okay.
Comes across very clearly. Every time I try to speak Spanish in the most accent I can, I still got my American.
Still creeps in there.
Oh yeah.
I think I remember you saying was Spanish the only other language you knew, or something else?
Yeah, just Spanish and English, and then little bits of languages, obviously. Like konnichiwa.
I wish I was fluent in Spanish.
Sis.
Yeah, that would definitely
Let's
be
go,
helpful in
Quinn.
Texas.
Unfortunately, I only know what
Yeah.
Hips Don't Lie says, but
Yeah.
I know I know vaguely enough German
one
to
found that
survive a
funny.
grocery store.
That's good.
I haven't really spoken German with Little a lot. I've sometimes gone back and forth with her on Discord, text-wise, but I don't do that as often as I probably should. Like, I don't think I've heard them comment on my German on how I was speaking it, or at least not that I remember.
Yeah, Little seems
Yeah.
very enthusiastic in talking, teaching German. No, not eating German, speaking German. Captions. You can't eat a whole language.
Yeah, that would be so cool if you could get good at it.
Really like to, like, I had originally wanted to move to, like, Germany if, say, things went to shit here, and then I look over at Germany and I see their government has yeeted itself out the fucking window. Anyways. But that's not
Oh,
Yeah.
for BC.
I've been hearing about the Elon Musk, like, trying to get his little grubby hands on you guys.
Ugh.
yeah. Ugh.
It's like, dude, you don't go anywhere, dude. You don't go to any of these places. Stop.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, honey.
Hello.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Honey, do you only speak English? This is a random question.
Yeah, fluently.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
you mentioned you wanted to learn, or you were learning other ones, right?
I was learning other ones. Yeah. I'm trying to learn Italian.
Ooh, that's nice.
I know some
Yeah.
Spanish, but not conversationally.
Yeah, like I know enough because I took it in high school, and so like I know enough to kind of like vaguely, very badly get by if I have very short conversations, which is also my level of Italian right now. But yeah, and I'm also not trying to learn, or not trying to learn. Well, yes, but I also hope to be a little more fluent in American Sign Language too.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
It's
I've
super fun.
I've been meaning to try to learn that, but I keep forgetting because
Yeah. It's really, really hard when you're doing it on your own. So I don't blame you.
Voice chat and we all get to learn together. I know. I'm sorry. That's my big one. And more. I know more. More and sorry.
That's our
Drink?
I only know how to sign beautiful and
Aw.
thank you.
good ones to know.
Yeah.
That's all.
I know how to
Thank you,
sign.
beautiful.
Hey, hold up your middle finger right now.
Oh, whoa.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The spin-off of readings is learning languages with
Today we're gonna learn all the curse words. Isn't that delightful?
Speaking
Puta
of,
de madre, sí. Now you heard puta, you heard madre. I think you can put one and two together.
Yeah, I know that one.
Vatanculo.
Su madre es una puta.
Kusoyero.
All right. Shall I get on to reading this next chapter?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hold on, let me stop cracking up for a second.
God, is reading all the fics today.
That's right. You got me on a roll. I read
I like
this
his-
as other
appreciate it so much. So.
I will. Oh, sorry,
Thank you for
Stag.
the
What you
battle
say?
royale.
I guess if you're going to do this one too, I'm going to go back to my art.
Okay. I will say, if I'm reading a Tiri's dialogue, it probably won't be in a Welsh accent.
That is okay. I can't do it either.
I shemai! No. There we go. Which is what you want.
And good to
Kind
see
of like
you.
that. That's probably, I don't know. I'll try.
Dominant.
We'll see. Okay.
I do request we read this trigger warning
Don't
in
stress
case
yourself about it.
anyone is
Absolutely.
affected by it.
Yeah. All right, so the next one is we're reading the second chapter of Alter Vita, A Second Chance. It is a Dark Souls fan fiction by Lord of the Owls, who's also known as just plain Owl here. This is actually chapter 1, and a nameless amnesiac girl awakens within the safety of Firelink Shrine. She struggles to come to terms with her current predicament, lost in an unfamiliar land with unfamiliar people. Trigger warning, attempted suicide via drowning. So, heads up.
Yeah, how
If
long
that
is
ain't
It's
your
not
this?
super
thing.
in detail.
How long is this one? It is about 2K, 3K? I don't know. Owl,
Okay.
give us the
Let
deets.
me I can fact check that. Or can I? Let me find it. Hang on.
Can you?
It should be about like 4,000, I
It's
think.
not as
But
long as the
if you
last
don't want,
chapter, right?
no, it's not as long as the last chapter. The
Okay,
last
good.
chapter was the longest out of all of my chapters.
It
And
is getting
Omed,
pretty.
if you don't want to read the entire thing, I can like tap in or something.
Bet.
So, Corey,
Bet.
you're saying
All
it's
right.
late? Getting late for you?
It is getting kind of late, so.
Oh, okay.
Did you want
But
us
you can
to
stick
hold
around
off?
for one more chapter. No, it's
Okay.
fine.
Alright.
You can read
Mhm.
it.
Okay. Screaming, hulking figures in black, sand daubed in dark blood. The excruciating feeling of being pierced through the chest and then being limply dragged off before numbness took hold. Nebulous memories of an unlit, dingy prison cell phased in and out. Hands cuffed above her head, body limp and devoid of all life. She stayed there, hopelessly. Her head hung loose as little rats picked at her flesh, barely conscious to do anything but watch for what felt like both an eternity and a day, all at the same time. Then suddenly, the ear-piercing noise of crashing and fracturing stone, the distant sounds of moaning and groaning around her now echoing off the walls of her small enclosure as if something had been opened. Something grabbed her roughly, its cold metal digging into her flesh as it freed her from the confinements of her shackles and thrust her to the murky ground. Vision hazy and fleeting, she stumbled out of her cell and through the narrow prison halls, its stone walls aligned with dim torches that flickered deep shadows into the cracks and crevices of the prison's interior. The decrepit floors were harsh against her raw skin. However, she wasn't in the right mind to care, scrambling ahead without a clue as to where she was heading. Brittle murmurs and pained howls filled her ears as fleshy hands reached out of their confinements to grab at her uselessly. She barely registered any of them, though, as fear forced her trembling form up a rustic ladder and across a courtyard of spiky grass, like she had been possessed by the sheer will to run as far as she could from her cell. Eventually, she was met with pale light, accompanied by a chilling gust of stale air that stung her face. Her skin was bit by the cold of her surroundings, with nothing but the sounds of her own running and the howling of wind. Words of little correlation were being chanted by her inner monologue. Run! Survive! Run! Fly! Run! Look to the sun! Follow its rays! And she did just that, blindly running towards wherever she sensed light. She was led flat up against a cold wall, but was able to tear away at the stone enough to create a small opening. The space allowed her to crowd through and out to more open area, basked in pale, glum light. She picked up her pace, faster and faster, and the cold, rocky surface jutted out into a serrated cliff. She didn't stop, her inner voice feverishly chanting, "Freedom!" over and over again. Next thing she knew, she pushed off the edge and leapt up into the sky with what little muscle she had, so high she thought she might have taken flight, till she plunged down into nothingness. A vision took hold of her but for a second. She saw a bird, white-feathered and long-legged, flying off into the distant horizon where the golden sun was cut off, shining down a glistening path against a great ocean. The vision stopped, and then there was darkness. That's all there was for the longest time. She had no idea how many hours, days, or even years had passed, feeling as if she'd been in a strange place, wedged between life and death for the longest time. She was dead, was she not? She felt nothing but a foreign abyssal emptiness, unable to recall any events that had led up to this. But what was this exactly? Her consciousness felt detached from her body, like it was its own separate entity, and darkness clawed at her chest as if beseeching permission to let it take over completely. This darkness served as almost an odd warmth of sorts, like a deadly blanket, as it kept her from gaining back control of her body. She was in such a state of fatigue that it rendered her incapable of feeling the terror others would have felt, as she felt abnormally neutral about her predicament. However, by miracle or by mere coincidence, something started to change, slowly, as her internal voice became clearer. First her ears started to ring, starting off as muffled, then gradually becoming obscenely loud. Then she began to grow feeling in her body again, the sudden sensation of blood rushing into her veins almost startling. She felt heat, not a warm, comforting type, but an almost immensely fiery type, as a sudden burst of pain seared through every inch of her being. The feeling of broken ribs, gashes deep in her flesh, and an overpowering dryness struck her like lightning, making her mind scream out in anguish. She did try to scream, but simply fell limp from exhaustion, prying her mouth open only for the onset of a throaty croak to escape. She desperately pried her swollen eyes open, straining her already bleary vision to make out her surroundings. She could only see in masses of color, however, in front of her, in all its comforting light, sat a small-scale bonfire. Its flames danced brilliantly, flecks of orange and yellow embers flying off around the unusual coiled sword that was firmly fixed into its center. Cold, arid wind whisked past her, sending chills down her nerves and causing the fire before her to bend and flicker erratically. The chorus of dead grass and tree branchlets rustling together in unison as the flame methodically waved about aided in soothing her senses somewhat. Her battered body ached as if she had been dropped from a great height, and her heart still beat erratically, causing her chest to almost vibrate. It was only seconds before she grasped that she sat propped up against something, forcing her upright, and after limply feeling out the protruding roots below her, she recognized that it was in fact a tree that she was resting against. She perked up when her ill-defined hearing could make out the distinct sound of someone, or something, shuffling somewhere off to her left, the slow sounds of metal rubbing against rock emitting a striking series of rattles, almost like the chains she had been fettered with. Her head pounded, and her neck was as stiff as the tree behind her, but none the less she attempted to tilt around to take in her environment. She looked up. Trees and other forms of plant life covered the area, giving everything a distinct verdant appearance. The stone walls of what used to be something monumental was nothing but ruin now, making it an open area for wind and other natural components. Disheveled barriers and arches and stairs covered and mossy vines encircled her, almost like everything was protecting her. And there, adjacent to her, sat a man. He was clad in a full-body chainmail suit, each chain rusty and disheveled, similar to the one wearing it. He was rugged, face tired and stubble covering his chin and cheeks. He didn't seem to be wearing the usual headpiece of his suit, revealing dark, rough hair. The man was hunched over, idly watching the bonfire in the center with dark eyes, not bothering to even acknowledge the girl's presence. She attempted to get the man's attention by producing some kind of noise. However, she was rendered speechless, could barely produce a whisper. So she weakly grasped a fallen branch, thin and frail like herself, and tossed it in the direction of the warrior. It didn't hit him, and he surprisingly didn't seem to notice, so she tried again with another branch, this time a bit harder. It hit his body, his right arm to be specific, making his eyes suddenly snap towards her, dark brows furrowing. "Can I help you?" His voice was hoarse, exasperated even, as he propped his head up on a dirty gloved hand, elbows resting on his knees. She attempted to make noise and respond yet again, but to no avail. Alternatively, she stared at the man, feebly gesturing. He must have understood what she was trying to say, for, with a sigh, he responded, "That pompous cleric dragged you from who knows where and just plopped you here. No, I don't know why, so don't ask." The girl simply sat there, attempting to process what he was saying. Cleric? Dragged me. Where? Even though the warrior insisted on no more questions, there were nothing but questions churning around in her muddled mind now. She stared blankly at him, and he stared right back, eyes tired and vacant. He sighed again before vaguely motioning his head towards something. She repositioned her head over to where he was directing her, scanning the ruins before landing on his stone well. However, it wasn't the well he was pointing at, she realized quickly. It was the shriveled dead body draped on its edge. She nearly felt squeamish at the sight of it. She looked back at the man, confusion written on her features, to which he responded by plainly motioning harder to it, seemingly becoming fed up with the girl the more she stared him down. Go up to it, he gritted his teeth. It has something you'd be wise to take. She hadn't a single clue as to what he meant, but she was nothing less than frantic and confused. Any help someone would want to throw at her, no matter how rudely, she'd be more than willing to receive. So, with a surge of great power, she shakily forced herself up and off the tree, ignoring the screams of warning that shot up through her muscles. The man lazily watched as she hobbled over to the antiquated well, finding a sick kind of amusement in the way she kept tripping over her bony legs. She stood at the well, its contents eroded and layered in moss. The dead body, hollow and dried up, was limply draped over the edge, face first into the well. It was horrific, the way the
You cut out. Arnar.
Shut up!
No, clear!
No!
Clear, no! Conversation!
We all watched H2O just add water.
H2O, just add water.
Oh my gosh!
Conversation!
Every time I write O-U-G-H, just know it sounds like ugh. Ugh.
I think of like the Roblox pain noise that
Oof. 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 I can't even do it. Oof. Oof.
Oof.
Oof. Okay.
Mm.
I forgot to have music in the background. And my headset was like, "You're not listening to anything, I'm shutting off." And I was like, "No.
no.
Vincent, why are you like this?" Okay. Back to this beautifully described dead body. Corpse, if you will. It was horrific, the way the strings of flesh loosely clung onto skinny, malnourished bones. Its body was devoid of any remnants of blood, more resembling a dried-up grape that'd gone rotten than an actual human. She hoped that this wasn't some sadistic trick. However, when she examined the carcass more intently, she noticed a faint glow emanate from under the flesh. She inched closer, muscles toiling to keep her upright. And there it was, slowly rising from the body's upper back. A little flickering flame. It was black, black as black could possibly be. Its flames were outlined in a thin, white light, like the black flame was being encased in an ethereal halo. Carefully, as if not to disturb the flame, she cupped it into her hands, lifting it from its fallen owner. The girl raised the flame to show the lone man. However, his somber eyes were back to the bonfire, as if he had lost interest. She looked back at her hands, noticing how the flame flickered towards her person, like it was trying to reach out to her. The flame, it brought her some sort of mystic comfort. Slowly, she pressed it into her chest, and it dissipated into little wisps as it was sucked into her. It sunk into her flesh, and almost immediately she felt a change in her anatomy. Her dry flesh became whole, her hollowness filling with new, healthy muscle. White light enveloped her, and suddenly she felt alive again. Shock and skepticism overwhelmed her. As she quickly examined her arms, hands, and legs in all their fullness, The unbearable dryness in her face was no more as she worked her aching jaw. She glanced back towards the man, still comfortably seated on the remains of eroded steps. He felt the girl's stare, and observed as she quickly hobbled her way back towards him in her newly human form. "Yock, sir," she croaked, leaning a little too close for his comfort. Her upturned, narrow eyes were expressive, unnatural, deep gold irises regarding him curiously. Her face was friendly with soft edges, and her skin, once fleshy and colorless, was now a healthy tan, kissed by the sun itself. She had long, unkempt hair that was a strange color of mauve purple, most probably a common Eastern heritage, no doubt. Pshaw! He looked up at her, feeling pierced by her odd, biscotti cold eyes. Easterner, correct? How the bloody hell did you end up all the way here? The inquiry seemed to stump her, wordlessly tilting her head. Long strands of hair shifted and slipped, obscuring her vision. Oh, never mind. I don't care, he sighed, after staring incredulously at her, scrunching his nose up in disgust as he shifted away from her. The man seemed to remember something suddenly, pausing in his tracks and motioning his gloved hand off somewhere behind her. The cleric has your stuff, in case you were wondering. Not quite sure if he was ever planning on returning them, but you should go look for him. The man pointed a slim finger over to some more parts of the sanctuary. See that area over there, just up the steps? He resides there most days. It was probably a strategy to rid himself of her presence, but she was far too gullible to discern that. Instead, she did exactly as she was instructed, and scanned the shrine for this cleric. The girl made her way up the fragmented stairs, chilled by the cold stone on the soles of her bare feet. Dead grass and vines sprouted from between the cracks, the residue of past weather leaving everything blanketed with a glistening sheen. The ruins that surrounded them were nothing less than extraordinary, the place as a whole feeling like a long, forlorn sanctuary, with only the remnants of a celebrated past left for remembrance. Wind whistled through the alcoves and broken arches, making the branches of the overhead trees clatter and rustle together. She scaled up the stairs and peeked her head into a hallway-like area, filled with tall pots that cluttered the far corners. She had no time to dwell before making direct eye contact with a man clad in bulky leather armor. "Yes? May I help you?" The man spoke, raising an arched brow in her direction. His voice was refined, almost fatherly, yet it didn't fail to intimidate her. Still peeking out from around the wall, concealing most of herself from the imposing man, she attempted an intelligible reply. "My stuff." The man eyed her, thick brows knitted, then quickly changed his expression, features relaxing in realization. "Ah, yes. I have them here. I found you with them, and assumed that, once you had awakened, you would like them back." She watched curiously as he set his scary, spiked weapon down against the grass, turning back to reach into one of the large vases. He pulled out a small bundle, swathed in rope and cloth, and held it out to her in a calm, gentle manner, like he was conversing with a stray pup. Slowly, she came out from behind the wall and towards the cleric. "For the love of Lloyd!" he exclaimed, promptly turning his head away from her. "Have you no shame? I'd prefer if you refrained from wandering a holy sanctuary like that." It took some time for her to realize that what he was talking about, looking down at herself. So that's why she felt so cold. The flimsy, tattered rags she adorned did nothing to cover her, and everything was still plastered to her with her own blood and sweat. She took the bundle he was still holding forthwith, using what little help it offered to cover herself. The man before her cleared his throat before formally introducing himself. "Anyways, yes, where are my manners? I am Petrus of Thorland." She simply stared at him, wordlessly mouthing his name. She noticed how he pronounced his R's oddly, how he announced his name with such honor. His voice was deep and melodious, yet she couldn't shake this odd sense his tone was eerily calm. His hair was a medallion yellow, seemingly cut into a halo shape. Or a bowl. He had a round face and a large, slightly hooked nose. Though he had firm frown lines, his ocean blue eyes gave off a kind, fatherly feeling, a stark contrast from the warrior. Petrus raised his eyebrow, examining as the girl simply blinked rapidly from him to the little bundle she clutched. Large, gloved hands were brought up in front of him to idly form a tip, judgmental eyes staring her down. You can go around the corner of the shrine, he pointed, right over there, so you can get out of your dirty rags and change in privacy. She looked back up to him, hesitatingly examining his face with owlish eyes. Name drop. After an uncomfortable amount of time, she turned from him to leave, bundle now tightly clutched against her chest. She didn't utter a word to him. No thank you, no nod of acknowledgement. She didn't even smile back. She felt like she was existing on a different plane of existence, internal monologue cluttered with nothing but inquiries. She hadn't a clue what was happening, who these men were, not even where this place was, what events were responsible for her current state. Based on her the persistent shaking of her tired limbs, she assumed whatever occurred before must have been a near-death experience. Or had she actually died? Thoughts clouded her mind as she silently absented away and backed down the crumbling steps of cold stone. Walking back out to the open grassy pastures of the forlorn sanctuary, the girl silently observed the way the moldering architecture loomed from up above, though she was undecided whether it brought a sense of safety or if it felt as if the ruins itself were judging her. Feeling a sudden sense of woe rush through her, she kept her eyes down to the ground as she carefully rounded one of these stone arches. She held on to the walls to keep herself from falling again, residue of rain making the stone cold and wet under her grip. Finally, when she felt isolated enough, doing a quick once over for any other piercing gazes, she slowly lowered herself to the hard, wet ground of the shrine, or at least what was left of it. The walls were barely standing upright, and the building itself was roofless, letting all of Mother Nature in. Everything had a green tint to it, with dense mist illuminating the area, almost like the air around it was glowing. At the very end of the space stood a large, withered statue of a woman draped in holy cloth, and before her sat a large pool of stagnant water. Flush vines and plants of all greenery surrounded the area, blanketing the stone walls and pillars, their leaves glistening with recent rainfall. This must have been a nave of some sort, the central part of any church reserved for worship. The natural scent of residue flooded her nostrils. It calmed the girl somewhat, enough so that she felt comfortable enough to begin peeling off her tattered rags, wincing at the wounds and bruises, and walking towards the small set of stairs leading into the water. It wasn't deep at all, just barely enough for her to submerge herself knee-deep, so she opted to slowly sink herself down into a seated position, shivering at the cold temperature of the liquid. It was dirty, clearly the result of rainfall collected over time, but it was more than enough. She looked up towards the crumbling remainders of the dome. Sunlight filtered through the canopy of branches above, illuminating the decomposed pillars that no longer served their purpose. She stayed like that for a while, sitting half submerged in the water. She brought her knees to her chest, watching blood and dirt seep off of her, further tainting the water. She listened to all the noises around her, the distant crackle of the bonfire, the occasional wind that made the dead trees' branches rattle together in harmony, the slow, methodical slosh of the liquid around her. Speaking of liquid, I need a drink.
Okay.
Oh my
Thank
god,
you.
you did so
Damn it.
good!
Aw, thanks.
That was
Oh my
really pleasing
gosh.
to listen to.
Yes, oh my god. I know I've already said this before, but it's like I'm being kept in for sleep.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like it's really a nice little bedtime story.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Oh wait,
probably will be
wait.
the last one we read since it's getting a little late
Yeah.
for everyone.
Oh, but I really appreciate you doing this, Alma. This is so awesome.
You're
And your
welcome.
impressions are so good. Not surprising, but they're so good.
Thank you. I am very happy I'm doing them justice. Mom, I see you, Lux. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, shall we continue to the end of the
Oh,
chapter And by my memory, this, for anybody else who's watching, this is the part where Tiri does have a bit of a moment. So,
Yeah.
ooh, I get to try to pronounce Welsh. Good luck
Exciting.
to me. All right. The girl turned back to glance at the bundle sitting at the edge, scooting herself over to look through it. She carefully untied the rope, its disheveled material scratching at the pads of her tan fingers. The cloth opened up to reveal some items she had never seen before. A small gold dagger, encrusted with a few jewels and designs that depicted a long-legged bird and some flowers. Its scabbard was dark brown, with the shape end being solid gold. She picked it up carefully, first wiping her wet hands so as to not dirty it. With a steady hand she held its gold-tipped hilt and unsheathed the blade, which glinted in the pale sunlight that filtered in through the trees. Examining the flat of the blade a little closer, the girl noticed a motto inlay within, spelling out the words Os bedwich sin kel ek hun argo edrex ir flam. The girl stared blankly at the unintelligible text, because the person who was reading it could not pronounce Welsh, unfortunately. She knew this language, didn't she? She squinted down at it, holding the blade closer to her face and trying desperately to recall anything she knew about the language. After a moment, she managed to discern the words find, lost, and flame, but was unable to remember anything else, leaving the full phrase a mystery. Disheartened, she sheathed the blade back into its scabbard. The item itself was rather heavy as she weighed it in her hands, though she couldn't tell if it was really as burdensome as it felt, or if it was simply because she was still recovering from her feeble state. She continued to gaze down at the blade, trying to shift through hazy memories in a futile attempt to retrieve any little piece of recollection she might have, or at the very least confirm that she had in fact seen this blade before. Nothing. Dejected, she set the blade back down so that it rested atop the cloth. She then decided to scan through the leather satchel. It was made of fine material, its sleek brown also encrusted with ornate floral designs. There was hardly anything inside, just a few odd stone pelts, which were all very small and clattered against each other in her palm. There was also a small, tattered piece of rolled-up paper, its aged contents tainted so its color resembled more of an orange. She unrolled it, but the ink had washed off almost completely, making it unreadable. She strived to recall these things. Nothing. As she fumbled with the paper and satchel, a necklace fell out onto the stone, making a startling, clattering sound. She picked it up to her face and closely examined it. It was a rusty pendant, with a chain looping into the hole. The pendant itself, unlike everything else she had examined, was completely bland, its color dark and ugly. Upon closer inspection, she spotted a deep fracture that cut through the pendant, like a thunderbolt, nearly splitting the poor thing in twain. She tried, desperate now, to remember. Still, nothing. She scrunched her face in frustration, tempted to violently throw the pendant to the ground, but her frustration only seemed to bring hot tears, burning the tear ducts of her eyes. She looked back at the doleful pendant. If it was ever worth something to her then, it was worthless now. Still, she felt compelled to finally put it on, lifting the chain over her head so she could duck through. She adjusted the pendant around her neck so the flat of it rested against the bump where her ribs connected. She looked down at herself through the cold water, feeling a tear trail down her cheek. Though the cleric had saved her life, she couldn't will herself to want to go on. Now she'd almost wish he'd just left her. Sorrow filled her, but she struggled to produce more than one tear as she scooted herself away from the edge again to the center of the pool. She slowly laid herself flat, necklace floating against her so her face was submerged in the water. Her long mauve hair floated around her like wisps beneath the water, surrounding her until it was nearly all she could see. She waited, then, for that same darkness to overtake her. She waited and waited. All of a sudden, she felt a looming presence above her. She reluctantly opened her eyes, the water stinging her vision. Her body went stiff when she was met with the wobbly sight of two black, beady eyes and a large beak. The overgrown crow jutted its feathery head down into the water to seize her leg between its beak, yanking her with such force she thought it was trying to rip the limb right off her. But no, instead it hauled her out of the water and flat against the cold stone. She was wide-eyed, gasping and dripping wet as she gawked at the creature, who simply bent its graceful head down to her level. It twitched from right to left, using a single black eye to stare her down. Then, like it had sensed its message had been successfully sent, it began to beat its powerful wings and took off. The force of the wind created nearly throwing her right back into the flooded nave. She sat there, now even more chilled than before, as air began to filter back into her nostrils, turning her face back to its original color. She looked up the topless spire of the shrine to see the bird had comfortably perched itself back up at its nest. Adrenaline slowing, she thought quietly to herself, wet head between her hands. The bird didn't want her to die, didn't want her to throw her life away. So she wouldn't. For now, at least. She quietly slumped back against the ground, wondering to herself. She needed to go see that cleric. And Yorkshire means thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was chapter 1 of Alter Vita, A Second Chance.
Ooh.
Woohoo!
Ah,
Well read, well
That
written.
was awesome!
yeah.
Oh, yay! I am glad. That was really fun to read, too. Now it makes me want another chapter, Owl. Wasn't that
Something else.
Well, they're 28 and 26 right now. And
Now
I'm,
at this
24
rate,
hour
I can
stream.
get this quest done.
I definitely won't abandon it. I was not expecting it to be as long as it ended up being.
Oh, we
Oh, I
love
totally
long
get
running
that.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, yeah,
you.
things ending up longer than you expect. I know that feeling now.
Yeah. Ugh. Whoa. It's crazy though. I remember like writing these especially the first couple of chapters on my phone in
Wow.
between like my miserable classes.
Oh.
So,
Oh, I'm glad you had time to do that. It was really, really
yeah.
well written.
Thank you so much. And Omev, oh my gosh, you read it so perfectly. It makes me so happy.
I think that's the first time I ever did a Petrus voice, so hey!
I loved it. It was good, so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really fun. Oh my god, I missed Crestfallen, my boy.
I did too. Oh my gosh. I still remember like whenever I'm like, oh, I miss Petrus and Crestfallen Warrior. I think about like when I made them in Dragon's Dogma 2's character creator, and they
Ooh.
came out pretty dang good.
They did.
I'll look
Oh
at
my
them and be
gosh.
like, oh, my boys.
The boys.
The boys.
All right. Now I can pause this music in the background.
Uh-oh, don't disappear now without
I
using-
know. I won't go oog again, you know? I won't. I promise.
Ooh.
Or oog. Ooh.
Okay. I suppose
Alright.
it is good night time then.
Yes. So wish
Yeah.
good night to the chat. Thank you, chat.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, and I beat Seif the Scaleless.
Oh,
Congratulations!
First time, baby.
first
Woo,
time.
Actually, first time.
Let's go.
But it's actually quite easy once you beat Crystal because most of his attacks don't hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Thanks for letting us read that, Owl, during your
Yeah.
Oh,
Your
of
stories are
course. It was my absolute pleasure. I mean, obviously, I wrote this story because I had people that were encouraging me.
Aw.
Yeah.
So I
glad
was
they
like,
did.
oh my gosh, I gotta like continue writing it because I have like people who like it, and it's just like the biggest compliment ever. to have
Aw.
my work be liked by people. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's fun. Very
Yeah.
fun.
Yes.
I do like it. I love it.
Mm,
And yours
Mhm.
too, Corey. Your
Thank
short
you.
story was really harrowing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Thanks.
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry I wasn't here to hear that. I'll have
Yeah, you can
to
still
watch
read
back
it.
the video.
Yeah, you can also do that.
Yeah.
Oh, your screenshots! Holy crap! Oh
Bonus
wow!
to
Oh, those.
Riri. I love bonus to
Yeah.
Riri. Look at her, Riri.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is
it's Riri.
Aw.
Dragon's Dogma, one of my favorite character creators. I was like, yes, finally!
I can see why you like it.
Boy.
Holy,
It's good.
too detailed. If I tried, I could probably make myself on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if the demo's still out.
For the character creator?
Oh yeah, probably not though.
It should be.
Really?
Oh, I got it like not as a demo. I thought it was just out. Like anyone could get it.
Oh,
Oh,
perhaps I shall.
Yeah.
I probably won't though. I have no commitments to games
like,
right now,
uh,
unfortunately.
it's like Metaphor
Yeah, I get it.
ReFantazio as a demo. 5
Yeah.
hours that progresses to
Taking
the full game.
it's taking me long enough to play
Mhm.
Oh, I thought I'd get
play
honey.
Dark Souls, so yeah.
Honey?
Honey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sleepy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm sorry.
No,
No,
it's
it's
okay.
fine.
Troll.
What?
Okay.
I'm awake.
You're weak.
Nice.
Which is your favorite character in the couple, Will or Stroll?
Stroll.
Ah,
Yeah.
No contest.
damn.
I love him so much. I love him. I need him.
I love to play Metaphor if I ever get the chance.
I'm kind of torn between like
Because
showing.
like it sounds like from what I've heard, it sounds like Persona, but like better story wise, and it's set in a fantasy world.
Yeah,
Which
Yeah.
is always a bonus.
A lot of people I've heard them say that like the story fits a lot better because it's set in a fantasy. And so I feel like it does kind of like flow with a bit more it's a bit more convincing than like how Persona is, where it's like we're high schoolers. But I mean, it's still all very fun.
You might like his little speech. And
I love him so much. He's my cutie patootie.
But like,
I love that.
yeah, I have to agree. Like, even with the time system, the calendar system, it works so well. Like, if you like Persona 5 or like any of the Persona games, like it really works well.
100%.
Yeah.
That
I have too many
I
games in
love
the
it.
backlog to commit to anything new.
For
I keep going back and
real.
playing old
Honestly,
games.
same.
I feel that. Oh, random.
Yeah.
But like, I have Dragon's Dogma 1, and I really wanted to play it. But
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have it too. It's on my backlog.
oh,
Oh,
Oh man. A friend of mine is Lafrest. It's Lafrest. She's been talking about it, and I never played it. And I was like, oh, or Red Dead 2, which I started to play but haven't beaten or gotten very far.
I've also been, I was trying to get you to play Skyrim because I was like, I can't believe you haven't played Skyrim.
I can't believe you haven't played Skyrim.
I haven't. I mean, I played a little bit of Skyrim, but I can't really. I'm not really interested in playing it because the world looks really ugly,
Well,
and
yeah.
I can't get into a fantasy game if the world looks ugly.
I get it. I have a soft spot for really grimy, disgusting looking fantasy games.
You do.
Yeah,
Like you can
like
smell
Dark
it.
Souls.
Yeah, like Dark Souls.
Dark Souls is a good one of those games.
I thought you were gonna say Dark Souls does look ugly. I was like, yeah, it kind of does. So maybe it's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
pretty
I like when
moments.
it at least has some color in it, and like for Skyrim, I feel like they sucked all the color out of it.
Yeah.
At the
Well,
time,
if you
I-
want color, you should go
really-
to Oblivion. Elder Scrolls
like to-
Oblivion.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
colorful game. And a game I
Yeah,
love.
the color it has got colorful characters in it. I know that. Like the
Okay.
adoring fan.
I love
He
the adoring fan!
He has very brightly
Wait,
colored
is
hair.
that the annoying guy who follows you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you can
So
kill
beautiful. I
him.
love
Like,
You can
beat the
that.
kill
shit out
him
of
to
him every time I
advance
saw
one of the
him.
He's my son.
Yeah,
Oh, he's my son.
a lot of
Your
people find him
son.
really annoying, so they kill him so
Yeah.
they can do one of the quest lines.
Okay, I was
Wow.
a kid
Mean.
at the time, so
Dang.
that's why I beat him up. But like,
Oh.
I'd really like to play Morrowind. I know Stat was trying to get into
Morrowind!
that game.
Yeah,
Morrowind
because
too.
I
Oh,
really
it's just,
like
activated.
I really like fantasy games that are just really bizarre
Oh, there's
and
this-
have a lot
Yeah,
of weird
oh my god.
stuff, a lot of weird and unique stuff going on too, because I'm not really super into the grimy.
there's this really
Yeah,
cool.
well, so
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, no,
Morrowind
like
is definitely
generic.
very grimy. But Vivek is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I think he is so cool. But I
But
can't. I'm not gonna say spoilers.
From Morrowind.
Morrowind, yeah.
Also, what happened to Big Hat Logan? He's no longer in jail.
I think if you talk to him, he goes to the archives. His little hobbit area corner.
Oh yeah, he does. I remember now.
Where?
He gets lucky.
It's in the secret passage you open with like the
Okay.
ladder and the mimic, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Cool.
Sure love the
Oh,
archive.
Yeah. I love the Duke's Archives. It's probably my favorite area in that game.
It is a pretty cool area. It's annoying though.
Oh,
must
100%. I mean,
Look at you guys.
where in Dark Souls is it not annoying?
Yeah.
I should get you guys to try the OG Dark Souls though. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that's alright.
Like,
you know what I'm
Wait.
talking about? No, I'll stop.
Wait, what are
wait,
you
what
talking
is-
about?
Like
Nah.
remastered?
I shouldn't say.
Demon Souls?
I mean, like
So
before it was
cryptic.
Like,
remastered.
Dark Souls?
I don't think I have the right console to
No,
play that
I'm
on.
kidding.
Dark
No, you
Souls
can
2?
play it on a PC
Okay.
legally.
Oh,
Well, that would actually be Kingsfield.
Wait, Demon Souls
thinking
Remastered?
about it. No, Kingsfield.
Oh, Kingsfield.
Oh, okay,
that
got it.
one.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah. But oh my gosh. Oh,
I'm just
love
going to
Demon
run
Souls
to the
Remastered.
chat. Oh,
bonfire.
Goldman. Are we off recording, by the way, Lux?
Oh, I could do that right now. Good night, everyone.
Oh my god.
Good night.
Good
I mean, it was
Now
just
that
me
I'm playing these
doing
weird
everyone.
things.
Yeah, what can I
Good
say?
night.